Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman Animator, coming back to you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about unconscious bias in the workplace, or conscious, depending, And so I will have a couple people helping me out in this conversation. But first, I want to start off by giving you the definition of unconscious bias. So unconscious bias or implicit biases are social stereotypes about certain groups of people that individuals form outside of their own conscious awareness. They occur automatically as the brain makes quick judgments based on past experiences and background. As a result of unconscious biases, certain people benefit and other people are penalized. It includes an association or attitude about a person or social group that, while not plainly expressed, it operates beyond our control and awareness. It informs our perceptions and can influence our decision-making and behavioral processes. Implicit biases are frequently shaped by a need for the familiar. However, before we know it, our unconscious may decide what's safe or acceptable, and it often directly contradicts the beliefs and values people claim to hold. Even when an organization puts diversity and inclusion in its mission statement, biases can still sneak their way into everyday decisions. So this video, it might concentrate more on the Black American experience. Unconscious bias can manifest in many ways through gender, affinity, socioeconomic status, all kinds of identities. But we'll see where the conversation goes, but I think it will be mostly the Black American experience in this particular video. Maybe I'll come up with another video. So I want to invite up my conversation partners. We have Andre Rodriguez.
What's happening, people?
And Kenan Floyd.
Hey, what's going on?
So, to get the party started, one of the initial topics I was going to discuss is diversity without inclusion. And so there's these practices that cause the need for diversity in hiring practices. So there's this idea, a lot of people talk about nepotism, but there's also cronyism, which is, nepotism is family, cronyism is with friends. And it could be huge in any industry. People think of friends when they post a job post. When you have a majority of white people in a certain space who are more likely to be friends with other white people, unintentionally, job preferences can only go to white people. And then we know sometimes that job postings are only a formality, and sometimes even when a job is posted, they're only interviewing people for like pomp and circumstance and peacocking. It's not really a real interview. So what do y'all think about that topic of just so happen that people are friends with people who are like them, and that's how we don't end up getting in these spaces, and that's why we need these diversity practices?
You want to take it first, Kenan? Because I can ride on this one.
I mean, sure. I'll start it off. I mean, I got a lot of different points to say too, so I mean, we could probably go back and forth. But I will admit that with my recent job, I did benefit from cronyism. And that is because I started at another studio, and my friends at that studio ended up leaving and work at the current studio that I'm at. So cronyism, nepotism, I could say is definitely a thing. It's especially when you're working in the entertainment business, Hollywood specifically. That's basically how most people get jobs, and people are very open about it. So it's one of those things where it's not hidden. That's why they encourage people to network as well, because everyone knows that's how you get a job. As far as like the biases is concerned, as far as diversity, the thing that is interesting about Hollywood specifically is most people don't have a diverse friend group. So when it comes to diversity, it's trendy. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I know Kenan or I know Dre. They will be amazing for this job. It's, oh, we need someone so nobody thinks we're racist. So that's why a lot of times when you are the diversity hire, there is a lot, in my case, there is a lot of frustration because you get in, but then you quickly start noticing that you're not part of the group. You know what I mean? So I like I said, I have benefited from this, but it's definitely come from going through the fire a little bit and just becoming friends with people who moved on. But definitely when it comes to diversity hire, people, it seems unconsciously do it for show. Just in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that yeah, you're right. The diversity thing is trendy, and what you were saying about people's peer groups. Studies show that white people have the least diverse peer groups, and black folks have our peer groups are usually mostly diverse, right? We have the most diverse peer groups, and I think that it's hard for people to get outside of that, outside of their own comfort zones. And the only thing I have an issue with, because when it comes to like white folks, I let white folks do they white folks stuff. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't bother me because I love me enough and I got my people, right? So I ain't worried about it. They're just missing out on the greatness of what we are, right? So that's bad for them. But so I understand how it can be hard to break out of that. So for me, as long as people are just honest about what it is, it's like, yeah, we are trying to better ourselves or whatever. So we're trying to fight our own biases. It's cool. It's when people start to talk about that they are different from the rest. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I am not like that. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's been 400 years of social engineering. Oh, you must be just an alien, right? You're not a human being. You know what I'm saying? So I think, diversity and inclusion in the workplace to me is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors anyway. I like to say cultural authenticity. And as far as like, you're going to have the cronyism and the nepotism. But a lot of times when people are using those, when people are, trying to hire people that they're comfortable with or whatever, I don't think they're even thinking about the broader health of the company. They're thinking about just their own little bubble and keeping their bubble safe, And it's like change ain't safe. Either you're the person in the arena or you're the person in the bleachers. You got to choose one. You can't be both. You know what I'm saying?
I think also with the implementation of like diversity hiring, sometimes depending on the intent of the person, they'll purposely do it wrong. So they'll like, instead of going and getting someone qualified, they'll just pick any person and then be like, see, we tried, and then they sucked. And it's
oh yeah, 100%.
Well, what I usually do is when I meet people that I'm working with specifically, I check out their social media, because that's when people are authentically themselves. So when they say stuff like, oh, I have I have black friends or I have friends of color or whatever, right? I say, okay, let me go to your Instagram and see who's on your yacht party.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's when you're the most open. That's when you're flaunting your wealth. That's when you're flaunting your privilege. So it's like, all right, who is with you at the yacht party? Who's with you at the barbecue? And then once you see that, you're like,
Kenan investigating. He over there trying to find out who. Yeah, I like that.
Because I'm like, all right, I get it. I get what your relationship is. Because what happens is at a lot of these companies, when there's social justice issues, like for example, when the George Floyd thing happened, right? At my company, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, we support the movement, et cetera, but silently. You know what I mean? And I remember someone that I worked with, she reached out to me via Instagram, unprompted, and she said, I support what you're going through and all that stuff, but I choose not to be political on my social media, right? And I can respect that, but then at the same time, the question is, well, why is that? That's when you look at the pictures. Oh, I see. Your friend group doesn't really jive with this, right? So it really determines the type of conversations that you can have in the workplace, or the type of authenticity that you can actually have around your coworkers. So that's the reason why I do that investigation just to see how open about myself I can be at the workplace.
See, I actually take a different approach. Usually when I talk to people at work and they want to say some cute stuff, you know, and when they want to sound like they with it, I just drag them in the deep end right there. I just start off with the conversation of, you know, we had a conversation one time at lunch, and we were talking about Roe v. Wade, what happened with that, you know, and you know, everybody was talking about their, you know, the fact that this thing got overturned is so horrible, you know. And I said, well, how horrible is it? What are you doing? Right there. Just tell me what you're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? They froze. I said, see, you're not really tripping. I said, because I said, and the reason why you ain't tripping is because you ain't getting scraped over the coals right now. You know what I'm saying? I said, so me personally, I hope things keep going this way. So then you will eventually get scraped over the coals. Then you'll feel like I feel, and you will actually do something. And they're like, damn, Dre, that sounds crazy. I said, yeah, welcome to my world. So I kind of drag them in the deep end immediately, so I can just get past it. You know, it's like now that we know you don't really support, you know, equity and equality. Now we can just enjoy our meal and talk about animated films and stuff. You know what I mean? So I try to pull that out of people immediately, because some people are out there, they're down for the smoke. Some people are out there down to help. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you're not down to help, it's okay. It's okay to stay in the corner and
not be about it.
Huh?
Don't talk about it and not be about it.
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't, because I'm not the one. I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna check your temperature.
Well, and that also exposes to corporate culture too. Like,
absolutely,
you find out about it immediately.
Yeah, and that's what I like.
Yeah, it's and I do kind of do a little bit more softer approach. I don't talk to people like that at work.
Yeah.
Just because.
Dre is very an extreme. That's why I look forward to when I can work with Dre, because we're both 3D modelers, and just like, I'm not gonna be like Dre, but I'm allowed.
It's a twofold. There's two things I get from that. One, I find out who's who very fast, right? Mm-hmm. And then two, that's how I can form my circle very fast when I get into a company. You know, because when it comes, like for me, I ride hard for my people. You know what I'm saying? Maybe sometimes I go a little bit too far. Who knows? You feel me? You can find my folks to take testimonials. But I need to find out my circle quick, because for us, we don't have the privilege of just walking around and entering and exiting different social spheres safely. We don't have that. When we make a mistake, it's dire.
Can you?
So I want to find out immediately.
You told me in the past couple weeks, why you act as you do because of your past, and like nothing can get worse than your past. So can you talk about?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, being, you know, having done time, you know, in California Department of Corrections, that's the nice way, like the professional way of saying prison. So being a convict, like nothing can really bother me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I lose a job, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Believe me, America wants people like me having a job. It's okay if you don't want me to have a job, because I'm gonna eat still, one way or another. So yeah, for me, it's not really a big thing. It's like, if because I can go to work and I can separate work and, you know, and my folks. If I got folks at work at the job, cool. If I don't, it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because as long as I got my circle, and my circle is a tight-knit circle, and the people that are in my circle I can lean on, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? So I don't worry too much about. I mean, I wish it was better at companies. I wish we could just be our fully authentic selves and people don't recoil, you know. But, you know, if it's going to take it was a concerted effort to get us here. It's going to be a concerted effort to get us past all this stuff. And I understand that. So, you know, it is what it is.
Kenan, I want you to address this next point first. So there's this continuation of talking about diversity implementation. So when talking about diversity, as seen on social media, sometimes you might see it in person, the automatic assumption is that candidates will be unqualified if you target disenfranchised communities. So the idea is to ensure that you're putting opportunities in front of various communities, guaranteeing that they have a chance to apply. But like, what do you think of like this immediate response from usually white men, where they're like, "Oh, the most qualified person." What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know, Dre. Maybe you can attest to this too.
I have a specific conversation to have with somebody about this.
Well, what we hear a lot, what I've heard a lot, is pay your dues. Which, to be honest with you, can I curse?
Yeah.
which to be honest is utter bullshit. That's
there we
not
go.
There we go. A thing. It's not a thing. But you hear it a lot when it comes to us coming. I remember I was stacking computers, and the CEO came down and helped me stack these computers, right? And everyone's like, "Oh no, the CEO's actually doing labor." And for some reason, he started having this conversation with me about, when I first started working, I answered phone calls. I answered phones at NASA and with my dad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why is this dude having a first job conversation with me? Like I'm not an intern. Like I'm an IT professional. Like, why is he? Oh, when I first started, it's like, nigga, like I didn't just start. Like this is a job that I have. You know what I mean? Like why are you talking to me like I'm 15? Like this is,
right? Oh my god!
He wanted that connection so bad, and he messed it up so bad. He just completely
just talk to me like I work here. Like this is strange. So, but what he was doing, he was having that pay your dues conversation with me. That's what that was.
Like, but low key, talking about I was answering phones at NASA. That the privilege of the saying.
NASA.
Dude, your
NASA.
first job was answering phones at NASA. Like
your
what
NASA.
For your dad. Like, are you crazy? Like, what is going on? So it's one of those things where he's trying to have this pay your dues conversation with me without saying you gotta pay your dues, right? And a lot of times what happens is when you have these diversity things, they'll hire like a black guy, black man, black woman, or whatever. And they might be the office manager, or they might be like the janitor, or they might like be a PA, right? And I'm like, okay, well, you're paying your dues and you're working way up, right? And then they hire like a white person from college, and that person is all of a sudden the executive assistant to the CEO.
100%.
Right? And well, she's paying your dues. You mean she gets to be in all the big meetings, and she gets to learn the business, or he gets to learn the business inside and out because he's there. These people are there when the decisions are being made. You mean paying your dues that way, right? And it's going to take me 15 to 20 years to even be an earshot of that. So I think what you're saying is exactly right. When it comes to these diversity hirings, as we mentioned before, it's really just we get the people in and we give them this illusion that we want them to progress.
Absolutely.
So that they stick around. And that's why you see a lot more black creatives just like taking it. Like there's this thing where we're taking it instead of waiting. A lot of us are. A lot of us are just like, I'm going to go direct my own film. Or I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to learn this skill so I can get this job or whatever, right? That's why we learn how to hustle. Like in the industry, because we know it's not,
I think we learn how to hustle as soon as we come out the womb, right?
Exactly.
And then we're just applying it to this industry now, But
yeah, I was somebody recently about the glass cliff, which is a relatively new term where there'll be like the company will be going down and failing in some area, and then they'll put like a person of color or a woman on the project, and it's like the expectation for them to fail, but as like black people, that's where we thrive. So like, unless
we'll make something happen,
very atrocious, we're going to like be the phoenix out of the fire. And so everybody knows about the glass ceiling, but the glass cliff is like giving us a project that is going down, and like, okay, now you can be the leader of that, and then putting us in a situation that is not conducive to success, but then most times we are successful anyway.
And let us succeed, and they will be so mad about that. Big mad that we succeed. Like, how dare you? How dare you be amazing? But I want to speak on the expectation that we have from when we get in. I was talking to a coworker of mine, and he told me, he got to me and said, man, when I first got on the job, he said he immediately saw, he's like, where the black folks at? I said, that's amazing. That's immediately you saw that's cool, And then we started talking about when people come on and the certain expectation they have when they get into that seat, whether it's animator, modeler, And I said, well, And I asked him, I said, do you ever think about when you compare people's skill sets, do you ever think about how this person, how their road was to get in that seat and how this person's road was to get into the seat? He was like, damn, I never thought about that. I said, exactly. What we're talking about here, if you really want equality, you got to go all the way back to when a person was 4 or 5 years old. I said, because you got the school to prison pipeline. You got black folks being mistreated from the time they get first grade. You know what I'm saying? We're the ones getting more punishment than our white counterparts for having the same personalities or attitudes as our white counterparts. I said all that, all the way up to the time you interview this person to have them jump on your team. So if you look at us, we're already working in a deficit decades before. He said, he never even thought about any of that stuff. You know, I said, now that I put all that in your head, you still ready to fight? Mm-hmm. He said, shit, there you go. Go sit down. Go and think about it. Go. And if you ain't really ready to fight, cool, I get it. But now you know. Now you know what the fight is, so don't be playing with it. Because if you're playing with that, you're playing with me.
To give an expert to this point, this guy you're talking about was a foreign white person, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference for some reason between white Americans and foreign white people. I don't know what they be doing different, but they have a different thought process sometimes.
They're probably on the outside looking in, you know. Yeah, they're probably on the outside looking in, which that is the case. But you know, yeah, but I also think he just innately gives a damn, you know, just from talking to him. He definitely gives a damn, but he didn't really see what the fight was. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Kind of like when you're outside the boxing ring and you're watching the boxing match, and you're like, brother looks slow. Yeah, then get in the ring and you're like, no, he fast. He fast. He pretty fast.
Like when you watch an NBA game and like the guards look short, but they for real like 6'1", like or 6'2", but they look short in comparison to the forwards and the centers.
Yeah, when you watching the basketball, yes. When I was in New York, I was staying in a building where some of the New York players was at. When you see him on TV and you see him in real life, listen, bro, that dude looked like a giant off of Game of Thrones. Okay. Yeah. So it's like, when I was talking to the cat, I said, yeah, you got to realize when you get into this fight, this is what you're fighting. It's not about just hiring somebody. You're taking on a situation that can't just be solved with putting somebody in a seat and then it's over with. No, it's way deeper than that. And I said, if you're not going to handle the fight fully, then you're not really trying to solve what's really going on. You're not really solving the crux of the issue, you know?
And to piggyback of what it takes to get them there, I remember being at another position, and like my counterpart was treated very well as compared, and it was crazy because he started maybe a couple weeks before me, but you would have thought it was like years before me based on how we were treated. And I remember sometimes we would like vent to each other. At some point I stopped because I realized I might have been talking too much. I let him continue venting to me, but I was like, I don't know if this is good. And so, I remember hearing him vent about the same frustrations I had, but he was treated way better. And I'm like, oh, so that made me think, when we're at the same position, y'all be thinking we went through the same thing y'all went through, and we went through way more.
100%.
Y'all have the same complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Based off less downtroddenness or like less things to go through. Like we're at the same position. So you think, oh, like that the little animation where they had a little people racing and then we have all the obstacles and stuff. So they, they're illustrating like equity versus equality or something like that. And it's like, you think because we had the same finish line that we had the same obstacles. It's like, no, we had a couple more hurdles, some boulders, some like walls to climb. Yep. Like, we not the same.
Spears shooting out the walls and stuff. The big pendulum coming down. Yeah, all that.
Well, to there was a point you made, Dre, where you're talking about once we excel, people have like an issue with that. Have you noticed, question for both of you, that when you show your worth at the beginning of your job, does the communication with you from your superior to yourself lessen? Like, does the communication dry up a little bit?
I think
like when you first. Oh, go ahead.
So I think my what Deborah was talking about, how our roads are very different, so therefore our tolerances are different, right? And the things that we notice. Since again, coming from where I come from, and then my first job was in facilities, right? And I like worked my way up to, to being a 3D modeler in sets. A lot of stuff I don't even like. If you get in my vicinity, if you get in my circle, if I can reach out and grab you, that's when I activate. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I'm like, just give me my check and I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Let me go, because I haven't lost faith in change, right? I just recognize what whiteness is. And so therefore, since it's this, I'm not going to expect this from you. Now, when I see this new thing emerge, I might have a heart attack, like, oh my God, y'all give a damn. I might die right on the spot. But I've already accepted what things are. So as long as you tell me I'm handling my business, which I've gotten a lot of support, I've gotten a lot of love, you know what I'm saying, from like coworkers and stuff like that. But I've had people, I had one person try to actually salt my name to try to get my position because she was getting laid off, right? And the only thing that stopped it was my so I was a PA at the time. My coordinator, as soon as this person tried to say some shit, my coordinator was like, "What you talking about? I know you ain't talking about Dre." They backed off. You know what I'm saying? So I've had people already try to do that, but I just I shove that shit off because it's like, you can't break me. There's nothing you can do to break me. All you're gonna do is make yourself look bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's been instances like that, but I don't pay it no mind unless you in front of me. If you in front of me, then we can have it out. But it's gonna happen right there.
Kenan, can you flesh it out for me so I can answer?
So basically, like in my case, what has happened sometimes is you'll take on a big project. You might volunteer and say, okay, well, I have a system that might work better, right? And you make it work, and everyone praises it. Like what you're saying, Dre. You're like, oh my God, Kenan's on the stuff. He made it happy, he made it work. But then the people that you work with see that you quote unquote got it, and then they stop helping. Or they stop communicating, because they're like, oh, well, Kenan, and it's not even, it's like, oh, well, Kenan got it, and then when you come back and you start asking questions, they kind of have this, well, figure it out attitude.
So I'll say I've seen that in multiple different people, and I put that under the category of hoe shit or sucker shit. And that's in a whole lot of people. You see a whole lot of hoe shit and sucker shit in people. So, but I don't think I've dealt with that in my trajectory really. But I know what you're talking about, and I'll say that's just hoe shit or sucker shit.
Yeah, for me, I think it was directly related to my identity. It just was like I was at a previous position where I didn't realize how awesome I was being at my job, and then something happened where we had to start like recording on an Excel spreadsheet our work because some people weren't doing it, and so once we started recording on the Excel spreadsheet, I was like on that spreadsheet heavy, and people was like, "You making us look bad." I'm like, I didn't know that I was doing the damn thing. Like I just was doing my job in my little corner, and then once we had to make it for public consumption, it was like, oh shit, we supposed to do as many things as she doing, and I'm like, oops, my bad.
Now I have dealt with that right there, where somebody said, like, damn, Dre, you making me look bad. I said, no, you making you look bad. Don't be trying to put that on me. You know what I'm saying? If you dragging your feet, you're dragging your feet, player. Pick it up.
Well, and I'm not trying to hijack the conversation. I'm just saying, but that's where the biases come in, because if you slow down, like if you're working with like a white person and they're like, you're making me look bad, don't you dare slow down. Because you're gonna get fired. Like that's what's gonna happen.
100%.
Like they can get away with not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but you slow down, there's gonna be a meeting about you. The owners are gonna say, oh, Kenan's not really doing what he was doing before. Then you're gonna get that what is it, that quarterly meeting where they talk about your performance. I'm like, yeah, don't fall for that shit.
Yeah, no, never
fall for that shit.
Ever.
Because another thing too is in this business, especially animation, like visual effects, what I found out is it's super competitive. Like people are literally trying to get other people fired. So when you're in the business long enough, they kind of learn that mind game where they start saying stuff that's like innocent, but it's like, yo, they know that's like, yo, if I can get him to slow down, then I'm going to look better, and then I can take his job.
That's so
Or
man, that's so sad. Ho shit.
Yeah.
To kind of close out this particular topic, I want to talk about like, so that I feel like sometimes with diversity hiring, there is a improper implementation, and so non people of color or non whatever get upset because their people are improperly implementing diversity. So sometimes it ends up being a quota system, which me myself personally, I don't think quota system is the ideal way to increase diversity, but or it's what I mentioned before, where they will pick anybody off the street and then be like, see, we tried. And then other people will see that and be like, oh, well, it should be the qualified person. And it's like, yeah, the different disenfranchised people coming to this conversation think that as well. The fact that you think we don't think that is sketchy, and the fact that you don't think that there are people who are qualified is sketchy. Like, why is this the automatic retort of like, oh, it should be qualified? So you don't think there are people qualified, or what are you really saying with that retort? And so I think sometimes the solution to that is the idea is like, if you're trying, let's go with the animation industry, if you're trying to increase diversity in the animation industry, then it's not about giving people a job, it's about putting the job posting, if you're actually hiring for the job, putting it where we can see it. So HBCUs, Black student groups on college campuses, Black professional groups, and then like, Latin, because I don't like to use Latinx because some people don't like that one, so I would say Latin, and then all these groups, like, put it in their face so that they can apply, because the thing about the lack of diversity, if nepotism and cronyism is not included, it's just that we don't see it. Because I remember having a conversation with an old coworker where I think I posted something on LinkedIn, and he was like, well, it doesn't matter if you're green, purple, polka dotted, and I'm like, okay, but if purple polka dotted people don't get the opportunity, it don't matter if they purple polka dotted either. Like y'all be coming up with all these new colors. We got colors already that exist. Opportunity.
Maybe when we show up to the interview, right, we put polka dots on us. We here, baby. We here.
And if
I want to apply purple people eaters, like, okay, we don't care about all these random people that don't exist. We got enough people that exist.
If you're green and purple, you dead. So I don't know what they're talking about. I don't.
Kenan shut that down. He like, you dead. That's it. We ain't even talking about that. You know what I'm saying? I think, I think one of the things I talk to, folks, because I always say whiteness is a mindset. It just ain't fair skinned folks that think like this. We got Sambos out there and house niggas and shit, So I say like whiteness is a mindset. So the people that have that, the people that centralize whiteness, first thing I say is, do you even like black folks? I ask people that. I said, you're not going to offend me if you say no. Believe, like I said, I love me. I'm good. And my peoples are amazing. So do you even like black folks? They're like, oh my God. They once again, they recoil. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, look, for real, this is real shit. How are you going to have these conversations if you don't even like the people that you say you're trying to help? You know what I'm saying? Do you go rock with black folks? Do you go kick it? Do you come into our spaces and just chill and be like, hey, I don't know shit about your culture. I'm here for everything. What's happening?
They be scared, but we the most welcoming people in life. Like,
okay, you feel me?
The Emmanuel Church thing happened because we ain't one looking at the white dude like, oh, why are you here? It's like, okay, you white.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have let him in the church though. We gonna pray for your ass while you stand outside. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
We're welcoming people. And so, like, I remember when I was involved in volunteering in New Orleans, and we had a Juneteenth event with a Jewish organization. And I mean, if you don't ask the question, you don't get the answer. But like this one of the Jewish women, she raised her hand and asked the question and was like, how can I make more black friends? And it just was like, go where black people at.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and don't be weird.
Right.
Yeah, and it's be
be you, but just don't
be weird about the situation.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I always tell them, listen, man, when I go into a room and I don't know something, I just say I don't know it. How do am I supposed to just magically know some shit? So it's okay to say you don't know, and it's okay to say you willing to learn, and you might look like an idiot learning, right? That's how it works. Just like when you try to have a person dance that don't know how to dance, right? There's a period where it's just gonna be ugly. You got to eat that. You got to take that L. Yeah. So I just ask white folks off top, do you even like black folks? Like people ask me about when they was coming from New York to come out here to work on the West Coast. They're like, Dre, how is it around like the neighborhoods and whatnot? Because I heard the pricing is crazy. I said, well, if you like black folks, then you can find something cool. But if you don't like black folks, you won't find anything that's like a reasonable price. Because if you want to live only around white folks, it's expensive. They were like, damn. I said, I'm not saying, I'm just letting you know the real. You know what I'm saying? If you're uncomfortable being around a lot of black people, then you will have a problem finding something that's a reasonably priced. And see, that's the straightforwardness I have with people, because I think once we get past all the niceties, then we can kind of get to the crux of the conversation. And that's what I tell people. Don't worry about how do I hire this, that, and a third. Just go talk to the people that you claim you want to help. Go to where they are and be like, hey, I'm from such and such. Let's go. What's cracking? But they want to be all comfortable and shit all the time.
Well, and also you mentioned some black people that are kind of not comfortable around black people as well. They're in power positions in the industry.
Yeah, which I find that so strange.
Well, before have you used Clubhouse?
I haven't been on Clubhouse yet.
Okay. Mm-mm. Before Clubhouse came out, I did not realize that there was black people that actually hated black people. You know what I mean?
See, I've met a couple, and it hurts my heart. It's
you'll be in the room and you're listening to them talk. You listen to them talk, and even the Ku Klux Klan to be like, "Yo, like, calm down, like, whoa, like, you going a little far." You know what I'm saying?
I've seen this firsthand. Yep.
What I've realized is that a lot of those people are in positions. I work in Los Angeles. A lot of those same black people are diversity hires at studios in Hollywood.
And I'm pretty sure the way they talk, them white folks loved bringing them in there.
Woo, they love yes. And that's why when you see a lot of black people getting hired, and I'm not saying everybody, but it begs the question, okay, well, since there's more black people working in Hollywood, how come there's not more diverse storytelling coming from black people and other people from color?
And this is why I am the way I am, because you said you wanted black folks up in here. Black folks is in here now. Do you still want me here? What's happening? You know what I'm saying? Because what we talking about? We trying to get this mission done, right? Or are we trying to make you feel better? What we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Let's have an honest conversation. If you just want to feel better, that's fine. But let's start off with what it really is, And that's why a lot of times I try to just get straight to the message.
And then something that I've heard Dre say that goes along with the conversation is that you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. Like,
hell no. The way we're taught.
You say we are all born white supremacists.
We are all taught that white ice is colder. All of us. We are all taught that. We are taught that we're supposed to seek white approval. And if they say it's cool, it's cool. If they looking at us funny, we need to switch up and start doing the little jig and all. Yeah, we're all taught that. You know what I'm saying? Some of us are lucky enough to get out of it, but I can see how it's tough for some people, especially if they're getting their ego stroked. If they're in a position of power, like you were saying, Kenan, they might be in a a top position where they got some weight and some power. And then they feel like, that constant feeling, that constant pressure, you feel that you got to perform. And so I understand it. I ain't coming to their cookouts, but I understand.
Their food's probably nasty.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's real.
Continue on the what Gray just said about if we're only here to are you comfortable and like all that stuff. So let's go to the non-inclusive practices of forcing Black people to behave in ways that make you feel comfortable, particularly if a place is promoting diversity. Centering your whiteness and your comfort is not a way to foster diversity.
Real talk. When I talked to the presidents at Blue Sky, So the presidents at Blue Sky were having meetings with different groups, right? And they were having meetings with all the black folks. Eventually, I peeled off because I noticed like when I would talk, all the black folks would look nervous and shit. So I peeled off and I said, let me just talk to y'all just on my own, because the rest, when I talk to black folks, look like ooh we, they start to feel, and I'm like, I don't want to do that to them. That ain't fair. You know what I mean? So when I was talking to them, I said, listen, man. I said, this is how I look at things. I said, change is painful, right? There's only two ways that we're going to change y'all. I said, there's only two ways that we can get you out of that comfortable bed you're in, because the bed that you're in is very comfortable. You know what I'm saying? I said, one is offer you a more comfortable bed. I don't know if that's going to change anything. And two, set your bed on fire. Those are really the only two ways to get change, right? Other than that, it's just going to be status quo. It might look on the surface like things are changing, but underneath, it's still the same. It's still the same flavor. It's still the same poison. You know what I'm saying? And so I said, so if anything that I'm saying to you makes you feel comfortable, I know ain't nothing changing. I said, so that's why I talk the way I talk, and that's why we need to address this stuff on this level. It can't be addressed on a level that you feel okay. You're supposed to not feel okay with any of this. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's tough to have conversations with people like that. I'm over here, and I told them too. I said, and if I get fired for talking like this, it's understandable, because I'm talking in a way that you would consider reckless, And to the president's credit, he said, Dre, you talking like this, you're staying right here. I was like, oh, okay. You like this. He was like, your job is fine.
People like real.
I guess so.
To be honest with you, they do. I mean, for the most part, they do. I mean, you might find a few wet willies who get a little uncomfortable, but for the most part, people, generally speaking, people like real.
Yeah, I was shocked that he said, your job is fine, Dre. And he pulled out his notepad and was like, can I get some more ideas? What other ideas you got? I was like, oh, we could be here all day.
In the general conversation about, racism, unconscious bias, all these things, all these isms, it is very frustrating for people, even if it's just a conversation, to be like, I want to be, this is not what they're saying, but this is how they're behaving. I want to be comfortable in talking about something that physically or emotionally makes you uncomfortable. So again, that's centering your whiteness, where you have to be comfortable discussing this topic that makes us uncomfortable on a daily basis.
Exactly. And at the very core of that, that's basically saying, I want you to be throwing blows, Dre, and I'm gonna sit over here and just watch. Nigga, what? Yeah, we ain't doing that. We can't be in the same crew if you ain't gonna throw blows with me. Come on now.
Also, I think a lot of people in corporate America also lack nuance of like these type of conversations, and that's why I think a lot of conversations about social justice and race relations and sexism and stuff like that are awkward amongst people, because white people, especially progressive white people, really feel like that they consider themselves. Yeah, they really feel like they consider themselves because they perceive themselves as being a part of some type of minority, whether it's LGBT, whether it's being a woman, whether it's neurodivergence or something like that. And all of those are important in their own way, those different movements and acknowledgments. But the issue that I have is they try to compare all of that to blackness. Like if you notice, they're like, well, if you call someone the R word, that's just like saying the N word or whatever. It's like, no, it's like saying the R word, but you don't have to do it in relativity to how black people were treated. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening a lot of times is when you're expressing yourself about your black experience, it's, well, as a woman, blah, 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 I also feel, and it's like, yeah, but you're acting like black women don't work at this company. You know what I mean? Because the way you're coming at it from a different way that perhaps a Hispanic woman might have a different point of view, or a black woman might have a different point of view, right? But it's what it is the lack of nuance, because again, it goes back to the Instagram photos. Who are you spending your time with? Who are you listening to? Who 100%. Like where are you getting your ideas about what oppression really looks like, right? And a lot of times, and I'll give you an example. when they were talking about Carolyn Bryant, right? They brought out the they got the warrant, and they were trying to figure out whether they were going to indict Carolyn Bryant for the murder of Emmett Till, right? So what ended up happening was there was there was a white woman friend of mine who tried to compare Carolyn Bryant being indicted to the Me Too movement. And she said, yeah, exactly. So she said,
Wow.
oh, look, everyone. All of these men out here are scared about women lying on them, and look at this bitch or whatever. And we're just looking at her, and we're all the black people are like, we're confused of what you're saying.
Yeah, that's very confusing.
Like, we don't know what you're saying. Like, because in this case, it was a white woman lied about something a black boy did, and he got killed. I know you're trying to make it like a feminist, like a white feminist thing or whatever, but you have to understand that there's nuance to these conversations. It's not all the movements aren't the same. They're different movements that can have intersectionality, but at the same time, just like I'm listening to you, you have to be able to listen to us so that you get the point. So a lot of times when we have these conversations at work, a lot of these people think that we're all on the same team. But you have to understand. But they have to understand that, well, your privilege or your position or whatever can be harmful to me, and I'm trying to explain it to you. But if you continue saying, "Well, I also experience," you're not listening to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like it's the,
I sometimes feel like some white people have the arrogance and the audacity to think that they are prepared for the conversation as much as we are prepared for the conversation. Not to say that all black people are like fully equipped to talk about race and all this stuff, but sometimes depending on the person, I feel like even if it's like sometimes a white liberal person, it's like the black person in the conversation has a PhD and the white person in the conversation is a kindergartner, but they think that they have the PhD and they think that this is an equal conversation, and you can tell from how they respond to things, it's like you're not fully equipped for this conversation. Even the people with the best intent, sometimes I'll see on social media where like a white person is actually defending us, but they're being kind of racist in how they defend.
At the same damn time.
Yeah, like that's not. Thank you, but like that wasn't.
I think it just goes back to where they think again. They're not understanding that they're still looking at us as these inferior. Mm-hmm. less than human beings, right?
They need to save us,
right? That's how and I think
conversation like, oh, don't let the media, like, you don't believe that black people are intelligent enough to come to this conversation with our own experiences. Like, it's not the media.
Exactly.
I always tell people we can turn off every TV and never read another newspaper article and we would still be saying the same damn thing because it's actually our experiences.
Yep. 100%.
And sometimes we might not have the mental bandwidth to have that conversation that day. And that's when it comes to considering whiteness as well, because they're like, well, I want to talk about this. Or you'll be walking, like this has happened to me, where people come to me like, do you know the place we work for is racist? And I kind of just shrug it off because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you about it.
I give people, when they come to talk to me, I say, let me ask one question first before we get in the conversation. Okay, because I want to be fair. Do you want my take on this, or are you trying to feel better about about your take on this? What are we doing? I asked them that first, and like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you might be trying to get some confirmation on what you're thinking, mm-hmm. Or you might really want to know what I'm thinking, like what I think about this. I said we should start there first, because you might not want to have the conversation with a person like me, because I tell them in a minute, I'm like, first off, I'm not expecting much from you. Just you being a white person, the born years have showed us we can't expect much. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. Number two, I know you're soft, right? You're soft like baby shit when it comes to this. And number three, my goal is to use you to get better position for my community. Now you still want to have the conversation. And a lot of times they'll be like, ooh, wait a minute. I'm like, yep, go talk to Sambo. That's who you really want to talk to. Go find a Sambo. And I just keep going on because again, I'm not looking, that find common ground. I ain't looking for that at all. I'm looking to get something from. I'm looking to get something from my community. I'm looking to get something from my people. That's it.
And they're like, it's okay, Stacy. You know, I know not all white people are racist. Why don't you let's have some quinoa salad and talk about this.
Yeah, and I'm like, listen, you can not be racist. I'm whatever. Are you gonna let me utilize you to turn some of this shit around that's been going on? That's my whole goal. My goal is nothing else. You don't have to like me. I don't care if you like me. You know what I'm saying? But if we can parallel on the same if our moral compasses are calibrated the same way, then we can do some work. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, yeah, I don't need to meet you for lunch. You know, I mean, you could be cool. You know, I'll meet you for lunch, but I'm saying I don't need to meet you for lunch. We don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We can just, if we want to get some real work done, let's do
it. Speaking of that, I want to add in some topics that I wrote down to continue this conversation. So under the subheading of non-inclusive practices, expecting Black people to participate in this facade of the company being a family when the way they are treated do not produce familial feelings, or the desire is never to opt into this mindset. Also, the dichotomy of not inviting Black coworkers to hang out, but also if they decide not to hang out, judging that decision. So sometimes, depending on the person, there's a lot of masking. So masking is kind of similar to code switching, but just like putting on this facade of like who you present to your workplace. So there's sometimes a lot of masking happening in the workplace. So some Black people don't have the capacity to continue this after hours. And sometimes when you have to be around people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you don't have the capacity to give them a chance to bond. Thoughts?
I mean, you know, again, me being me, sometimes people ask me, you know, Dre, you want to come here, you want to go there, and sometimes I'll go, and other times, you know, I'll let them know like, hey man, you know, there's a lot of weirdos here, so I just don't want to be surrounded by weirdos right now. Because when I go to work, I tell people I'm focused on work. I'm focused on doing a good job for my team. Which, right, any person would that should be your goal when you go to work, right? You're trying to finish this project or whatever. But yeah, when it comes down to kicking it, yeah, I let people know if I don't jive with you, I don't jive with you. And that's just, you know, I think me being so blunt has it's worked in two ways. It's a double-edged sword. Again, one, it keeps me away from the weirdos. Number two, people are like, yeah, Dre's kind of rough around the edges, man. You know, so let's not even go there. so I got like my small circle of people that'll invite me to stuff. But on the broader scale, yeah, you won't catch me being in a big group of people. It's just a rare thing.
Of like, I read a book recently where it is kind of brought up, but like the bias of thinking you're rough around the edges when you're making a deliberate choice, like you're not unrefined, like you're
100%.
As you do is very refined, but
definitely.
As being rough around the edges, it's like, nope, he do that on purpose and he don't care.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I say rough around the edges, I mean
I'm just communicating to this topic of the colonization of words and like the
100%.
Rough around the edges because your personality is not acceptable.
Yeah, and 100%. And I tell people all the time, like, you know, if somebody says, damn, Dre, you handle that kind of aggressive. I said, no, they're just timid. You know, I said, because let me tell you, if you think I'm aggressive, let me introduce you to some of the folks I grew up with. Yeah. And they think I'm tame. You know what I'm saying? My folks think I'm like, you know, I'm the nice dude in the room. You know what I'm saying? So no, it's all about perspective, you know. But I kind of in the work environment, yeah, I just say I'm gonna do my work and I'm gonna go this way and kick it with my few people. You know, anything that gets if I see too many folks there that I know it's gonna be, again, I want y'all to help my community. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here for, you know, for anything else. So it kind of helps me weed out those situations where I could just bounce if it isn't that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, same. I have like 2 or 3 people that I hang out with, you know, outside of work that I'm comfortable with, that approve of themselves. But you ain't gonna catch me at a company Christmas party, because these white folks lose their mind at the Christmas party, and I don't want to be around.
Okay.
I don't want to be, because look, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. These white women at these companies be getting drunk, their dresses be coming up, they be twerking, and this is stuff that I've heard, and I'm like, I don't want no one to wake up one morning and be like, Kenan was there.
You feel me?
And
That's all they gotta say. He was there.
And then they start misremembering stuff. So that's why I'm like, I ain't going to no Christmas parties. I ain't going nowhere with a bunch of people have to come near drinking.
Yep.
Cause in visual effects and in visual effects specifically, people be fucking each other. Like that's. I mean,
He giving tea right now. He giving a whole lot of tea right now.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be snitching or anything, but people be fucking each other. That's what they be doing.
Okay.
So, which is fine, absolutely great. But
Real?
you ain't gonna catch me. You ain't gonna catch me mess with nobody at work, because at the same time, I'm not gonna get. And I know this. I remember when I was in first grade, Dre. When I was in first grade, I was in the cafeteria. And there was a young man named John Paul. This dude had a mullet, so I know he was destined for failure. So we're sitting at the table, and he turns around and he smacks a little white girl's butt behind us at another table, right? And I was shocked. And he turned around, and she turned and looked. And when she saw me, he was like, "You smacked my butt," and she told the teacher. And I had to be like, I literally didn't do it. Like, it literally was John Paul. Ever since then, I'm like, I'm going nowhere with nobody where they go, but oh, Kenan was somewhere around in the room. So that's you really, it's crazy because you really have to think that way, because they go to these parties to get loose. They go to these parties to relieve stress and stuff, but it's not the same for us.
It's not. I've been to like rap parties, right? Where you go watch the film, you bring family and all that kind of stuff. And then later on you go to the get together, whatever. Man, anytime I go, Dre, you ain't drinking? Hell no. Like what? I said, cause this room's full of weirdos. And they're like, damn, what does that like? What does that mean? I'm like, listen, you don't live the same life I live. You know what I'm saying? And I leave it at that. I said, if you want to kick it with me, you can come to the crib. You know what I'm saying? You can come to my crib with my people, and then we can kick it. But no, I'm behind. And I tell them like this: I'm behind enemy lines right now. That's the term I use, straight up. I'm behind enemy lines because I'm not gonna get the same understanding that you gonna get. It's just not what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so, and people when they hear me talk like that again, they get into they recoil again. I'm like, I'm not tripping. Y'all do your thing. You know what I'm saying? I know how to navigate. I'm not looking for you to understand how I need to navigate. I ain't looking for that. I'm just letting you know because you asked me this. So I'm giving you the real response of why I ain't doing it. So now you know next time you see me at one of these things, oh yeah, Dre, he ain't fucking with that. That's it. We can go on and get this conversation handled.
Well, and that's important that you say that, because I do the same thing too. You have to establish. And usually what it is, when you establish who you are, they're like, oh, Kenan or Dre, they're not that fun. They're rough around the edges. They're not friendly. They're not. And it's like, nah, I would rather you think I'm mean than
100%.
Than whatever else you want to think of me.
Real talk. If I thought you was going to ride for me, then it'd be a different story. But I know you ain't doing that. Again, let's go back to that. I don't expect much from y'all. And I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm saying that because I'm just trying to keep myself safe. I got to get home and take care of my family. You know what I'm saying? Which you won't do if something happens to me. My family, you ain't gonna help me out with my family. So yeah, I gotta make sure that I gotta protect myself from y'all's weird shit.
And I think in adding diversity to companies, something people don't think about is like because they're used to hanging around people like them, they're only used to the personalities that come from people who look like them and not the personalities that come from people that don't look like them. So I've been in where my white coworkers will be aggravated by how a black person is acting. We understand in our culture of like the person who's always like joking or whatever, and it might not be presented in the same way that white people joke, but it's just like, oh y'all ain't did shit, or whatever, and they see that as mean, but it's like you can't tell he's joking, like for real. It's very obvious that he's joking. I guess that's a black thing. And so through like multiple interactions with this person, they end up not liking the person. And then these can be like the woke white people. And then you realize they don't like that person because they're black. Not like individual racist, like string them up kind of way, but you as a black person realize this personality, they are bringing their full self to work, and this personality is very archetype in Black American culture, and you don't like them because they are black. They are presenting their full self to everyone, and you don't like that. And they don't realize that they don't like them because they're black. They just think they don't like them because they joke or they're abrasive.
You know what? I talk to a lot of people about the difference between prejudice, bigotry, and racism. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people they'll give an example. I say, no, that's bigotry. It's not racism. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you talking about? And I said, listen, here's what racism is. Racism doesn't have to involve hate. Racism is one group of people using whatever power they have, judicial, financial, whatever, and they build another reality for another group of people and force them to live in that reality, right? In order to ensure their continued dominance. That's racism. This isn't hollering the N-word. This isn't like string them up. It's not that. It's these small little movements y'all make to continually box us in. As we try to move, y'all counter move and continue to box us in. And I said, that's the problem. That's the real problem. And it's so tough to see, especially when you're the person that's just, you're in the machine. We're the ones getting trotted. We're the ones that are being downtrodden by the machine. Y'all are just in the car while the car is driving over us. You're not driving. Right. You're sitting in a comfortable car. The only way to fully understand it is to get out the car and actually lie down with us. And again, I'm not expecting too much from y'all, so it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Go into your explanation of bigotry and prejudice.
You say again?
For anybody who will be listening, who's interested, go into you explain racism.
So yeah, that's racism, and bigotry is just simply hating somebody for there's no power behind it, right? It's just ignorance, right? Somebody yelling somebody would some white dude with 4 teeth in their mouth and they got the twang in their voice and they calling me the N-word. It's like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now, if he can call the police and get me killed, that's racism. He can amplify his voice to such a degree that he can weaponize it and take my life. That's the racism. The other part was the bigotry. And then prejudice, of course, is you just have a dislike of something. Oh, I'm prejudicing against people that smoke cigarettes. I don't like people that smoke cigarettes. I don't like people that are bad drivers, which again is benign in nature. But where the racism comes in is when you can activate some type of systemic, some type of functional machine to then box me in, disenfranchise me, or ultimately take my life. That's racism. And that's what I'm focused on again, because my thing is, we don't have to all like each other. It's weird to think that we have to be liked to be respected. No, you're going to respect me, whether you like me or not. It's the respect that's important. And that's the thing that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, that doesn't really bring respect. You know what I'm saying? What brings respect is that people are willing to jump out that car and lay down with us and see what it's really about.
Yeah, one thing I don't like is the idea in the talk of Black people, whether it's from other Black people or from white people, is this idea that we have to be perfect to be respected. And in the human condition, that's never going to happen. So that never going to respect me because it's human. And this comes up a lot in this talk about Black on Black violence, and it's it is human to be certain things, but at least in because there is white on white violence that does not get talked about and is higher in number, which is why they talk about rate in the Black on Black violence conversation, because our rate is higher, but our numbers are not higher. It's actually numerically higher in the white community. But but this idea that we have to be perfect is never going to happen. And at least in the version of Black on Black violence, there are systemic reasons for at least 80 to 90% of why there's Black on Black violence. So what is the excuse on white violence?
Real talk. And I always tell people when they bring up that shit, I said, man, these white folks out here killed Dr. King. He was the nicest brother. They killed him. What they gonna do to me? Every word out of my mouth, and I'm usually talking as a cuss word, so I'm already knowing I'm not on King's level. You dig what I'm saying? So, I mean, if they're gonna kill him, I have no chance, you know. And again, I don't. If my respect hinders on this idea that you have of what blackness is, and you ain't even in my community, I don't see you in my community. Yeah, fuck you.
Well, I mean that's and they don't hide it either. It's like that whole Will Smith situation. How the same day they're like, well, Will Smith should be ashamed of himself, and we need to ban him in this. It's the same day that Ezra Miller smacked the shit out of a girl in Hawaii, went to jail, then got out and threatened to murder the people that bailed him out of jail, and he's like robbed them of their wallets and stuff. The same day. And then this is where the bias come in. You said, well, you know, Ezra Miller is out here. Ezra Miller's out here kidnapping people and choking and smacking people and fighting and all that stuff. Oh, well, he's not as popular as Will Smith.
And it's like, what the hell does that matter?
Oh, okay.
Really?
But
listen, don't get me started on the Will Smith thing either, because I had somebody on Facebook, talking about, oh man, his career is over. And this is, you know, it's the brother that was on Facebook. And I said, are you still going to support Will Smith? I'm going to see his movies. You still going to support Will Smith? Right? He was like, yeah, I am. I said, so what are you talking about? His career is over. He was like, he said, I'm talking about in the eyes of Hollywood. Oh, I said, you being a mouthpiece for the white people. Okay, I get it now. I said, next time, start out with that. Start out saying the white man got his hand up your motherfucking ass and is moving your mouth. If you want to be a mouthpiece for the white folks, let me know that. Then I'll fall back and I'll let you do your thing. But
and
I'm
it's
still
that
supporting Will Smith.
mentality. It's that slave mentality, and a lot of us don't realize that we be doing it too. Because
real talk.
Because the reaction to the Will Smith thing was from the perspective of because I also do stand-up comedy, so it's like you hear a lot of like stand-up comedians like, he slapped him in front of all those white folks. Oh, you mean the same white folks that made Hattie McDaniel sit in the kitchen?
Okay.
When she was nominated for an Oscar. Oh, the same white people that booed the fuck out of that Indian woman. That
the same white folks that didn't give Denzel Washington the statue for Malcolm X.
Exactly.
Woo! Come on now.
And some of those people that are in that audience were alive to see all that shit.
100%.
And then they're gonna turn around and be like, "Oh my god, this is a disgrace."
100, yeah, and you know, we're talking to black folks. I'm like, we really gonna do this? You know, damn well if you saw that in the backyard, right? You'd be like, okay, Chris Rock gonna go get his brothers. They gonna have it out, and it's gonna be over. Why are we acting like this is special? It's special because you on the Oscars. That's why it's. Yeah, I ain't got time for that, bro.
And this is what happens. This is what happens in the workplace sometimes too, when they try to make you the spokesperson for black shit. Because especially when I don't know how many black people you work with, Dre, but like sometimes you'll be the only black person. Yeah, you'll be the only black person. I remember when the Stop Asian Hate thing started, right? It was right at the end of like George Floyd and stuff and everything. So it was like, it was BLM for like months. And then it was Stop Asian Hate. And then out of nowhere, I had coworkers saying, because you know what happened after the shooting in Atlanta, then all of a sudden they started showing all these videos of black people smacking Asian people, right? So then at work, somehow I had to answer for the black people that are smacking Asian people, right? Yeah. So I walked into a conference room once, and one guy was like, "Oh my god, like Kenan, black people should understand why are black people just randomly hitting Asian people?" And it was one of those things where I bowed out of the conversation because I'm like, I don't know, I'm just here to fix the computer, right? You know what I tell folks, Kenan, when stuff like that happens. Here's what I say. I said, how about we have this conversation in my neighborhood? Oh, you don't want to go there. Oh, you feel you gonna let your nuts hang here. You don't want to go to the neighborhood and have a talk with. I said, because when you talking to me, you talking to the community. Let me tell you right now, you ain't just talking to me, because I'm going back to the community and I'm gonna tell them about this weirdo that I ran into at work. Now, do you want to go have the conversation over there? And then that's when they shut up. I'm like, cool. And again, that's because these conversations miss the nuance.
100%.
They miss the nuance. It's one of the things where you're like, what I really wanted to say was, what did that person say to him? What the Asian person say to the black person?
Were they following the person in a beauty supply store? Were they like, because we don't be randomly smacking people.
Okay. Listen,
and that's why I'm saying this cover. You're trying to trap me in this conversation without the nuance, without the historical context
of the relationship between Black people and Asians.
And everybody.
Exactly.
Black folks, like everybody that we just, you know, that's real. And let me tell you, there was one time at a job, I almost had to put hands on somebody. It was on camera, got caught on camera and everything, Kenan. And Deborah knows about this. And it's crazy because the head of the studio, right? So caught on camera, the head of security had to get into it because the person went and filed a complaint, whatever. Person jumped up at me first, right? They made the first move. I angled and was about to do him. He ran. So he went and filed a complaint. This is for all the allies out there. Okay, I want you to understand. Here's a good example of what an ally is. When that happened, it's on camera, right? She saw that I went to the Mayweather, right? Mayweather-esque. and the head of the studio said, "What did Paul do to Dre? Because Dre ain't like that." Boom. She shifted the whole conversation to, oh, Dre was in the right. And that's the first thing she said. And so now the conversation wasn't, you know what I'm saying, this black, and the dude was a white boy, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny too, yo story had a person named John Paul. This person was named Paul. So I don't know, maybe someone with that name. But
what's going on with these Pauls?
Yeah, right. But when she said that, what did he do to Dre? Because Dre is not like that. She shut down all the bullshit that was about to come from that. You know what I'm saying? And I was ready for the smoke. I ain't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Because like I told security, my mama told me somebody put their hands on me. I got to do what I got to do. I'm not going to just sit there. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? I said, your company ain't that important. So I think for the white allies out there that watch this, step out. She stepped out. You know what I'm saying? She did something that probably would have other people looking at her weird. You know what I mean?
And part of that is getting to know a person enough to know their character.
And that's exactly what happened.
Relationship where you are just on the surface with somebody else. Like you have to get to know their character, have conversations with them to
100%.
be able to be a full ally. Another thing I want to bring up was when I was at a previous job, and sometimes white people pick and choose what is a detrimental happening in the country and what they choose to comment on. So like at a previous position, I would go to the lunch area for lunch, and I'm a very observant person. So, you know, not everybody would notice this, but when Alton Sterling died, crickets. There was something else that happened around that same time, a black person, crickets. But oh no, actually, Alton Sterling died, crickets. That was in Baton Rouge, so it was close. And then they decided to comment on the Dallas police officers dying, which, you know, is valid. But but there was like multiple black people dying that they chose not to comment on. But then when the Emmanuel Church thing happened, that was worthy instance of black people dying that it was worthy for them to comment on. And it's like, so the heartstrings pulled for Emmanuel Church, but not for Alton Sterling or not for these other black people. So another unconscious bias thing is that sometimes white people don't realize what they pick and choose to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You know what I call that? I call that the back door. Mm-hmm. I say white folks have the back door. So anytime they want, they can just slip out the back door. You know what I'm saying? And we were at Blue Sky having all those conversations. I said that's where the progress breaks down. As soon as y'all use your back door, which you can use it at any time you want, you know what I'm saying? That's when I know you ain't really in this. And now my conversation is going to shift too, because now I know you fake. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you got to be down for the movement, but you said you was down, then all of a sudden you just disappear when things get heated. Now I see you fake. And so I think basically white folks got a lot to recognize, and they got a lot to deal with when they start to look at themselves. And I think that's why they choose to only talk about certain things as opposed to others. I think it's because certain things will pop up, and that's going to kind of put a mirror up in front of them, and that's when they're gonna. Now it's a conversation between themselves, right? They have to talk to themselves about what the hell's going on within them that's causing them to have those those biases or whatever. I don't know if y'all know who Tim Wise is, but go look him up. I'm sure Deborah knows. But Tim Wise, boy, he out there giving white folks the business.
Like Michael Eric Dyson.
Yes, exactly. White Eric Dyson. Like White Eric Dyson. So the thing about him is he's over here talking to white folks about, implicit racial bias and about, what they've been conditioned to believe, blah, blah, blah. But he also in an interview admitted that he got on a plane one time and both the pilots were black, and he admitted this. He immediately thought, who's going to fly the plane? He said, even I still have implicit racial bias that I'm fighting, but I have to admit it. If I'm going to get over it, I got to put it out here. You know what I'm saying? And like his level of commitment to change is what we need to start seeing from our white counterparts. If any real change is going to happen, they have to say, it's just like us men. We don't know shit when it comes to what it is for women. We don't know. That's it. End of story. Now let's sit down and listen, and we're going to look stupid when we say some shit because we don't know. But that's where we got to start. We got to start from that humble place. And boy, when it comes to white folks trying to be humble, Lord have mercy. That's a whole sermon right there. That's a whole word.
Well, what I've noticed, Dre, especially in corporate, is that white folks don't apologize for anything, and I've adopted that myself. And what's interesting is you start gaining like a little bit of respect when you're just like, this is wrong, and you're just like, okay. like because nobody apologizes. Like when you're literally like, it's not even like you're accusing them. You're like, hey man, I did this and this happened and it messed up or whatever. Especially if you're texting, you won't get like a response. You'll get like a thumbs up, or you'll get a reason why they did it.
Right.
But you will never get a sorry. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is how we rolling. All right, cool. Oh, you did this wrong. All right. Thumbs up.
There's an instance. I don't like they were on me so much. I actually did something wrong and didn't apologize. I was like, they'll be all right. Like I called out something so wrong, and I was just like, oh shoot, I was just on the wrong tab. Oh well. like y'all been on so much. I'm not even going to apologize.
I gotta pick up some of this from y'all. I gotta pick up a little bit of this. It's like, all right.
It's the first thing you notice. You're like, oh shit, people don't apologize for nothing. and the thing about it is, and that's the difference when we talk about culture. I know you want to talk about culture, Deborah. That's how white children are raised. Black children, a lot of us are raised to be apologetic. A lot of us are raised to be small, to make ourselves smaller. A lot of us are raised to have to be loud. A lot of us are raised to be humble. And we get that a lot from like the black church. You know what I mean? I grew up Jehovah's Witness. So it's like when you grow up like religious and stuff, you're kind of like, oh, be humble, turn the other cheek, this and that. So what happens is we become adults and we're apologetic. But white people, they tell their kids, you can do whatever you want. And they literally say, don't apologize for shit. That's what they tell their kids. Don't apologize for shit. And that's why you have these people, you have like the Donald Trumps of the world that can be loud and wrong, and they will never say, oh, I made a mistake. Never. Because their parents said, they said, don't you ever let people think you're weak.
Yeah, he doesn't apologize. He just says fake news.
Yeah, exactly.
Fake news.
Because it's apologetic, it's in the professional world, and this is what they don't talk about, it's a sign of weakness. So it gets to a point where if you black, you got to be like, this is me 100%. I'm wrong sometimes. That's what happens. You know?
Yeah, we're just like, we gonna be wrong because we human. That's that's what it is. It's like, I ain't gonna be right I definitely ain't gonna be right every time, knowing my mouth.
So to wrap up this the non-inclusive practices before we move on to the next topic, there's this idea of having to always advocate for yourself to be acknowledged because you're being left out or not acknowledged in various spaces. But for me, it's manifested in meetings where because I'm quiet, like, but I'm not shy. Like, because I'm quiet, people misinterpret my quietness for being inexperienced. I mean, some of it can come from bias of thinking I'm inexperienced. I do look like 10 to 15 years younger than I actually am as well. But I've been in meetings where it'll be a round robin where, oh, what do you got to say? What do you got to say? What do you got to say? And I get skipped every time. And like sometimes in the beginning, it's like, can I say something, please? Like, or like, but after a while, I'd be like, I don't want to advocate for myself anymore. So I'm just not going to say nothing and let y'all forget me. And I don't care. And then they probably think, oh, she's not doing anything. It's like, whatever. I don't care. Because I like to have to advocate, especially if it's a daily meeting, to have to advocate for myself every day because y'all keep forgetting about me. I'm tired. I don't want to advocate for myself anymore. So forget about me. I don't care.
Do you think that's done on purpose to kind of get rid of people that they don't like at the job?
I no, in my instances, sometimes it's actually unconscious, and that's the issue is that they don't know that they're doing it.
Yeah.
I think it might go back to what y'all both were talking about, how white kids are raised as opposed to black kids, right? White folks will just be loud, interrupt the meeting, right? Like
not even people interrupting. It's like the leader of the meeting is like, you go, and then it's like all of a sudden they forget that they missed me. So it's not even interrupt the meeting. It's like they're respecting that each person has to go.
And see, Deborah, I'm definitely I got the imposter syndrome heavy. So when people leave me alone, I'm happy because I'm just like, let me just do let me go work, and you don't even have to invite me to meetings. I can go do the job, and then I can install my work, and that's it. So I haven't had much of that since I wasn't looking for it. Yeah. And when it comes to topics that deal with what we're talking about here, a lot of times I know I'm not going to get much from them, but they're going to get a lot from me. Mm-hmm. So I'm already feeling like, damn, I going to spend this much time. I ain't going to get shit. Y'all going to get a lot. I'll just, I don't like that. I don't like that exchange. Fair exchange is no robbery. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't mind it, but y'all not let me talk and acting like I ain't doing shit.
No, that's real. Yeah, no, that would be a problem. That would be a problem.
Well, it is interesting how quick people pass judgment in this industry. Like if you mess up one time, you're the guy that or the woman that messes up. You know what I mean? And they won't necessarily come like the way that they act around you. You can tell that they're having conversations about you behind your back. Mm-hmm. Like the way they interact with you, how new people that come into the company interact around you. You're like, mm-hmm. Oh yeah, y'all are talking shit about me to people that's none of their business. That's definitely something that I noticed. And I think, and sometimes I feel that when you're ignored or they kind of withhold or they kind of push back on things that you say, it almost makes me feel like they're trying to push you out sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they can't fire you for being black, but they can fire you for not doing your job. Or they can make you want to leave. So if you feel like you're underappreciated, what happens is that starts affecting your performance because your heart's not in it anymore. And then it goes back to the performance meeting, and then they're like, "Well, we're gonna have to let you go because you ain't working." And it's like, yeah, but a white person said the N-word 3 times in the last 2 months. Like, are we not acknowledging? Like that happened to me once. Like one of my jobs, I was programming fire alarm systems, and I was one of 2 black people there. And we were the first time I heard the N-word was I was in a truck with a white coworker, and the road was blocked, and for some reason he decided to yell the N-word.
That's just like Tourette's or something, like Tourette syndrome or what?
And then he's like, "Oh, at the firehouse, my black friend lets me say the N-word." And this dude looked like a cop. Like it was like, all right. And then the second time we heard the N-word was we were in a meeting, and we were plugged in to corporate, and someone hacked the call and said the N-word on the speakerphone.
Wow. Damn.
And then a third time, I was somewhere doing some fire alarm system work, and one of the people there was also saying the N-word because they were talking about how much they hated the Black Lives Matter movement. So it got to a point where
it's funny how they do that. What they're saying is validating the need of the movement, but whatever.
Exactly. So then it's like I'm supposed to be 110% every day, where white folks are just throwing the N-word around.
Yeah, 100. That's real.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Real talk.
I mean, sure, but if I punch someone in the mouth, that's also a part of the flow too. You know what I mean? Like, it's another day at work. You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
I had an interview with John Semper Jr. and something he said. I think I put it in his clip that I have on my Instagram. Is because he's a writer, and he was like, if a white writer turns in something late, we're waiting on he's brilliant. We're waiting on him because of his brilliance. But if I turn in something late, I'm a problem. So it's that different mindset of like, why are you even assuming? You're not even asking the question. It's just like an assumption, like, oh, they're brilliant. They need extra time, and then not asking the question with a Black person is like, oh, they're overwhelmed, which I got overwhelmed by to be a trigger word for me because people keep telling me I'm overwhelmed, and I'm like, I am a superstar. I am not overwhelmed. Like,
when I was at Blue Sky and they were talking about the last film they were working on was called Nimona, and when we had a meeting about diversity and inclusion, blah blah blah, right? How people can widen their scope, yada yada yada, and then they brought up Spies in Disguise, and they said, well, Spies in Disguise was pretty good. I said it was, and they said, Dre, you didn't like Spies in Disguise? I said, that token-eyed doughy Negro that you had on the screen? Are you serious? Right? And I said, listen. I said, when Spies in Disguise first started out, it was about Lance. It was about him, the person. You know what I'm saying? Y'all were doing good. I said, I knew that wouldn't last though. Right? I said, now you morphed. I said, you morphed Lance. Well, you took what was the young Walter. You took Walter and started to beef him up. How did you beef him up? You took Lance's history and gave it to Walter. That sounds kind of familiar, right? And I said, and then you left Lance with nothing. So then you had to make this kind of puppet that kind of worked on screen. It did stuff, it talked, you know what I'm saying? I said, now, how is it that happened? And I said, because like we're in the room, there's Black folks in Blue Sky, right? We're here. I said, the only way that you did that and thought it was okay is because that's how you see me as a doughy-eyed token Negro. They were like, oh, I said, wait, don't, calm down. I said, here's where we can make improvement right now. I understand that you seeing me like that is from decades and centuries of social engineering. You know what I'm saying? But we have to first admit that to then take care of it, to actually fix it. Man, I wasn't invited back. I wasn't invited to any more meetings after that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it goes back to when you start to get to the crux of the issues, like you're saying, Kenan, the nuances, it just gets too hot. It just gets way too hot for them.
So let's go next into reshaping creative practices. A couple things I noted. As we get more diverse productions, we need to acknowledge that Black and white people and other people, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, indigenous people, can have totally different cultures, and that needs to be respected in the process for writing, character design, background design, storyboarding, and more. And don't be afraid to type the word Black or any other word in front of your query for your Google search for reference images. Because through my interaction on social media, I feel like I can tell that some people are afraid to even type the word Black. I remember after the George Floyd stuff, there was this hiring manager who said that he couldn't find Black animators, and I was like, in my head, I was like, did he type Black animator? Like, because you can find plenty by typing the actual phrase. Like, what kind of query did you have?
Right.
And,
if you go to LinkedIn,
24-hour tan animator.
Right.
Yeah. if you go to LinkedIn.
Yeah. And people think
thousands.
Let's see, what did I write? Hold on. Oh. People think that when you put into place like the diversity in implementation, they're like, we're all human, we're all the same. They don't see color. That's cool, but we're different. Like that's not. We grow up in different ways. We have different mannerisms and more. So when you're where we have all these diverse projects that are being greenlit, I don't know if that's going to continue. It seems like they're over it, but if it does continue, how you animate someone should be different. Like even like in character design, designing characters with no butts, like we be having booties. Like,
okay.
I've even noticed that. Like I remember when I was watching a Black dude's like 3D animation, and I'm like, why the dude ain't got no butt? Y'all afraid to just model a butt? Like y'all be having butts? Like you would be no homo? Like what? Why can't the Black man have a butt? So right. Yeah. So like
I mean they did it with Miss Incredible or Mrs. Incredible.
So like just this thought of
she had to be, that's a BBL. That wasn't real.
As being more diverse, we have to think about the practices and the creative practices of like design and storyboarding, where we have to think about, okay, how would this character do it? Not that we're all the same, not thinking through your lens, think through the lens of the person that you are animating, storyboarding, designing.
This is where when we were having those conversations at Blue Sky, I said, how about we don't worry about diversity and inclusion. I said, because I'm included, I'm here, I'm talking to you, I'm in the building, I get a paycheck, right? Mm-hmm. I said, but what we're missing is cultural authenticity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm about. You know what I'm saying? I said, because once we put that word authentic in there, now we're bringing into question people's understanding of what you're doing.
Right.
Right. It's like now it's not just about having a dark-skinned person on screen. Do you hang around dark-skinned people? Do you know them? Enough to say I can put this on the screen. That's the conversation we need to have. But again, that's the one that kind of brings up those heated topics that make them feel uncomfortable, because it's like, but for me, it's like, if you don't know something, just say you don't know it. Right. And we can move forward. So I try to always shift the conversation off of diversity, inclusion. And what's the other one? I think it's like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. I try to shift it off of that, and I shift it onto cultural authenticity.
And what's interesting about that, I work more in the live action space. What's interesting is that the movies and projects that are more authentic are the most successful. They're the ones that make the most money. Like, for example, say what you will about Fast and Furious, but Latinos, especially Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, love Fast and Furious, because when you watch a Fast and Furious movie, you're like, that's Calle such and such in Santo Domingo. You know what I mean? I lived in the Dominican Republic. The first Fast and Furious movie I ever saw was in the Dominican Republic. And Dominicans loved Fast and Furious because Vin Diesel loves the Dominican Republic. So in the new movies, like Fast and Furious 4 up until now, they always shoot a scene in the Dominican Republic, and they're either eating Platano or drinking Presidente beer or something that's like strictly Dominican or Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. So that when you see it, and it's not even like a plot point, it's like you see it and you're like, they understand what's going on.
Yeah. That's what they did with Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, yep. And that's what made Into the Spider-Verse amazing. That's what made like the joke in Black Panther, colonizer. Like the fact that was a joke in the movie.
Yeah.
Like white people saw colonizer. I don't understand the joke. But every black person on Earth, when they heard that joke,
can somebody explain that?
Yeah, every black person on Earth, when Killmonger was like, "Hey, Auntie," every black person on earth was like, yes. So it's like, that's like, if I could divulge a little bit more, like I've been watching like a lot of old sitcoms from the 90s. And you can tell which sitcoms are written by white people. Black sitcoms are written by white people, and black sitcoms are written by black people. Like when you watch Martin and Rock and the Wayans brothers and
Rock was, yes.
Yeah. When you watch shows like that, you're like, I feel something when I watch this.
Mm-hmm.
But you go and watch like The Fresh Prince and like Family Matters, and you're kind of like, okay, I kind of rock with the show, but there's stuff that they say that, you know, a white writer said this. Like, for example, in Family Matters, you know, the grandma?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow the grandmother is friends with George and Barbara Bush. And you're like, well, was she the maid? Like, what? Like, what the? Like, I don't get, like, what you mean she's friends with George and Barbara Bush? That's not a thing, right? Or they were talking about going on.
They ain't got no friends.
They were talking about going on vacation, and Grandma Estelle went, and she stood up and said, "Why don't we go down to Graceland and see the birthplace of Elvis?" Said no black person ever. So you're like, oh, white writers wrote this.
It's like the birthplace of what?
Age.
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah, it's like obviously white people wrote this.
Yeah,
and they said, okay, well, the family's black, but we're going to give them our voices. But as a black person, you're like, yeah, this we don't give a fuck about Elvis.
Not at all.
Like we don't like see you like, especially an old black woman.
And here's what's crazy.
Wait,
here's what's crazy. Everything you're saying, I must have blocked that shit out because I remember none of that. I must have just like
TGIF, yeah. Like,
you just throw that out.
but it's even watching those shows. And I'm originally from Alabama, but I grew up in suburban Pennsylvania, and I was the only black kid in my school, right? And even when I'm like, we don't fuck with Elvis. Even when I'm watching Carlton on The Fresh Prince, who is supposed to quote unquote represent my experience, I'm like, he's doing shit that I would never think of doing.
Yeah, real talk.
And especially hanging out in Los Angeles and knowing black dudes that hang around white people that are rich from Bel Air, Beverly Hills, you're like, why is Carlton not swimming in white women? Like,
damn, he's like swimming.
But that's the experience. If you're a rich black guy and you're the only one at a white private school in Bel Air, and if you've lived in Los Angeles for any period of time, you're like, this experience is not authentic.
Real talk.
He can be nerdy as he wants to be, but living here, you're like, that's not how it's going. So
when I moved to Los Angeles, I was like, I'm not even gonna try to date because ain't no black dude looking for me.
Damn it, man. Oh,
that's not true. That's not. I mean, there's.
I know, but it was just like the difference between going to school in upstate New York and like subconsciously seeing a bunch of light-skinned dudes just get with light-skinned women, or like Hispanic light-skinned dudes get with like light, black or Hispanic women, and then moving to New Orleans and seeing a light-skinned black man with a dark-skinned woman and being like, this is a culture shock. And I was only in upstate New York for 4 years, and that was only for 9 months of school, and then moving to New Orleans, like, light-skinned men date dark-skinned black women? And I'm talking about dark skin. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, so there's just like these different cultural norms in different places where just to be sane, you just opt out of it.
Yeah, we
sometimes you're just like, it ain't worth the
like
it's not worth the effort.
But I'm not going here hopeful.
But you understand what I'm saying. It's like the audience, we're not stupid. When we see something, we're like, well, that's not based on any experience. That's based on the experience that you white writer might have thought you had, and maybe it applies. But we do things very differently. And that's where, again, it goes back to nuance. That's the nuance of storytelling. That makes a world of difference.
Because we're intelligent beings. Like, they think we're stupid.
Yeah. when Into the Spider-Verse, when I was told, like, one of my coworkers when I was at Blue Sky said, "Man, Into the Spider-Verse is dropping soon." Blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know. And they said, yeah, Peter's been having a fun time working on the film. I said, Peter, and they're like, yeah, Peter Ramsey's directing. I said, oh. Then I was like, I knew what I was going to get when I went to the theater. I knew what I was getting just from him saying the name, and I got exactly what I was supposed to get. And it's weird. I said, I hope that they bring him back for the second one. I hope they don't think that, oh, this was a success because Sony blah blah blah. No, this was a success because you had the right person at the helm. And a lot of times it's weird. Like, they'll think that that's wrong, and it's like, listen, you ain't gonna hire me to direct a bunch of like white kids in Boston. That would make no sense. You know what I'm saying? Unless I'm from Boston and I hung out with a bunch of white kids growing up, then it would make sense. But it's like I had, that's not my experience. So it's like, why can't it be the other way? Why can't y'all just say, you know, we don't know all the nuances that are involved in y'all's community, so we're just gonna just start there and say, okay, let's hire the right person for the job that's gonna understand how to deliver that shit on screen. It's like, why can't we do that? But yeah.
Well, next into the mistreatment by coworkers. So sometimes there's this differential treatment, praising white coworkers and not praising black coworkers. So acknowledging white coworkers for the smallest things, and then not acknowledging black coworkers when they're like doing the damn thing, like, which can be crazy. And as a result to that, I started what I call manufacturing praise. So this is because I'm very observant. I don't know what other black people pick up on or something like that, but my dad, gift and a curse, told me to always be observant, and now I be OD, observant. And so sometimes a white coworker, in my experience, in like jobs, they will receive something from a black person and they'll be like, oh yeah, great job. And it's like, they ain't even done nothing yet. Like, why are you praising them? And then like a black a person will like submit something and they're just like, thanks, maybe. But they'd be like, great job, John. You really something that you're going to work on. And it's like, we be doing awesome things. And it's just like, thank you. And so what I started doing was, I just, like, when I see my black coworkers not getting the praise, I just do it. And then what's funny is, like, after, and in the group chat, and after a couple times, then they start acknowledging the person because you're acknowledging them. And then it's like, so I had to do it first. Like, y'all couldn't just do it naturally. And then they'll be like, oh, do you need this? Do you need that? Like, oh, yeah. Because I'm like, you did an awesome job. I watched that and it was great. And you did the little nuance. You did this, that. And they're like, oh, yeah, good job. And it's like, y'all ain't see that before I said something. So manufacturing praise is going to be a staple in my life. If I notice that my people are not being praised and then other people are.
I know you got something, Kenan.
Yeah, I wanted to. So what I've noticed, and this is going to be taken from my experience in working at studios and also stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. I really feel like Hollywood, and that includes where you're at, Dre, and what you're doing as well, Deborah. I feel that this is an industry of clout chasing.
Yeah.
And it's so ingrained in people's psyche that it's almost acceptable for them to ignore people that they think they're less than. Right? So, like, for example, like at my studio, when the owners of the studio walk in, oh, hey, boss, or hey, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a big to-do, right?
Yep.
And when I first started working at my studio, the one I'm at now, I felt like I was ignored a lot because I was there at my computer kind of doing my thing. What? Hello, boys. Oh, boss, what's up? Or whatever, right? And sometimes you would have people that would come in and they will look at you, and then they'll turn and be like, "Hey, everybody else." So I mean, I do think that a lot of times either people try to use the excuse that you might not be friendly or you might not have a friendly face or whatever, but I also think that's also you're less than, so because I don't need anything from you, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that also applies to comedy, even like other Black comedians, where it's like, if you don't have a lot of followers on Instagram, on social media, who are you? I don't. Oh, it's Dave Chappelle. What's up, Dave Chappelle? What's up? Even though I don't really know you, but what's up, Dave Chappelle? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But the guy that's starting out, or the guy that also does comedy but who's not famous, doesn't get the same praise or the same acknowledgement. So I feel like that it's a lot of people. A lot of people are self-centered and they're self-serving, and they're trying to survive in the business. So they're aligning themselves with people. They think they're aligning themselves with people that can help their career. Now the difference, for example, what Dre was saying earlier about finding his circle. A lot of times people don't really find their true circle. They find people that can help them.
Yeah, that is what you're saying is true. And it's funny, like I think the best way to find your circle, for me, I think the best way to find your circle is to be in service of people's spiritual growth. Meaning you find what makes people, what they're passionate about. You know what I'm saying? And you just always encourage them to keep going. You know what I'm saying? So you're being in service of them, not even worried about what's going to come back to you. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you start doing that, the right people start kind of gravitating, because not like you're saying, people are self-serving, right? So if you're in service of others, the self-serving people are going to be like, let me get away from that. You know what I'm saying?
Can be unique.
Say again?
In our industries, that can be unique, because what I notice, like in a bias of like ageism, but both ways, is that young people will constantly reach out to like veterans or like famous animation professionals, when you probably should reach out to your peer, because you never know where your peer is going to be in 5 years. And if you were nice to them where y'all was nothing, when y'all were like starting out, then they'll remember that and bring you up with them. But there's sometimes there's nothing a veteran can do for you except be nice to you. They can give you some tips and stuff like that. But something I mentioned recently was that sometimes people reach out to veterans for like how to get into the industry, and it's like how they got into the industry is nothing like what your experience is about. So you are better off reaching out to somebody who is 2 to 3 years out of college, 3 years in the industry, because their experience of like this technology and going through this and all this stuff is going to be closer to your experience than them having to print out portfolios and make copies of portfolios and go into the studio and talk to people. Like, they can try to give you the best advice they can, but that's not gonna help you.
That's real talk.
It's interesting how many people don't realize that they need to network laterally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like when you're around people that you can network laterally, what I've noticed, there's like this aggression towards each other because it feels like that there's competition.
Mm-hmm.
When it's really not. I mean, we're all basically still being looked down from the eyes in the sky. You know what I mean? So we're all in the rat race. And now it seems like the industry is closing a little bit. Like, Deborah, you were mentioning like how studios and stuff aren't really doing a lot of diverse stuff anymore. And that's because they're not. I mean, that's because they're really trying to.
They met their quota. They met their ally quota.
They met their quota, so they're trying to keep the money for themselves. They're trying to go back to the way things were, and they're keeping a lot of people out. So it gets to a point now that us as Black creators, we need to be self-sufficient, which means we need alliances. So all of those past few years that we've spent trying to get over on people and trying to get ahead and all that stuff, we're going to be left in the dust because those same people that might have had a deal at Warner Brothers, their shit got shut down.
Yeah.
So now they're back down with us. You know what I mean?
And you know what?
So, yeah,
I think I have a good example of how we need to make sure that we don't allow their praise to turn us into their watchdogs, right? And what I mean by that is I was on a panel, and before the panel started, it was all students, you know, and a couple of people that were there just listen to the panel, like friends of the panelists and things like that. And some of the students in the audience were talking about talking to us after, like networking. You know what I mean? There's this white woman in the front row. Here she go, right? Listen, these are professionals up here. You just can't, you know, there's a decorum in reaching out to them, and there's steps you got to take. I said, whoa, let me hold on. I said, if y'all motherfuckers see me on the street, be like, Dre, what it is, come holla at your boy. I said, I don't know what the fuck she talking. I don't know what she talking about, but that's not me. I said, from the streets to the suites, the game don't change. We got to take care of each other. So I'm gonna give you my personal number and my email. You can get at me all you want to. You know what I'm saying? It'll take me a while to get back to you because I might be busy doing whatever. But I said, my mission is y'all ain't got to deal with what I had to deal with. And I said, I got into the industry unconventionally because that's what we got to do, because convention wasn't built for us. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make sure that y'all have those unconventional ways of getting in too. So I said, you could see me out at dinner. You could see me, you know what I'm saying, just out chilling somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Come holler at me. I'll give you a few minutes. We'll swap contacts and we good. You know what I'm saying? I said, that weird shit, I don't do that. And then she tried to backpedal. You know what I'm saying? She tried to back up like a crawdad. I said, I'm not trying. This ain't about dissing nobody. I'm just letting y'all know. I know how hard it is for y'all because I was in the same boat. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to smooth over as much as I can because that's what we have to do. You know, speaking to what y'all were both talking about, it's like they can take the things we have now at these big companies. They can shut the lights off anytime, right? They can hit that switch. Well, the only thing we got is each other. And I always know that. Like, I always keep that mind frame.
And that I can't remember the dude's name, but there was a young black guy that recently won something in tennis. And I saw the post on Facebook of them posting an article about him winning. And there was a white woman in the comments who was like, oh, he seems like a narcissist because he didn't mention his opponents first. He mentioned himself first. So I guess in tennis, it's normal to mention your opponent first before you. But it's like if y'all gonna do this diversity thing, there's this thing called grace. Everybody don't know the pomp and circumstance of these spaces. So him going all the way to making him a narcissist because he talked about himself and him winning first, that's a bit much, lady. Like, but them constantly being in these spaces and knowing the routine and knowing what's normal. Like I talked to Kenan about at the Hollywood Bowl and classical, where they go off stage and then come back on. Like, oh my God, it just doesn't make any sense. This is like they go back, they go off and come back. Yay, go off. Oh, let me do a encore. Like we was at the John Williams and he went off stage about 6 times. Like, really? This man is 90. Like, we are making him go back and forth.
He's walking like an old man off stage. You're like, yo, bro, it's gonna take you 2 hours to go and come back. Like, if you're gonna do the songs,
he's
do
in
the songs.
Great shape, but still.
Then,
Need to get that man a chair. Need to get that man a chair. Jesus.
Right.
Let him sit down.
Like, there's this pomp and circumstance that can come with anything, and you invite new people to it and expect them to immediately know what the pomp and circumstance is.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I say you want to come to the block and have the conversation. Then I know you playing. You ain't serious. You don't want to come to the actual to see how to see the nuance, see how we behave. You don't want to come over here, then you ain't with it.
A couple more things on the list that we could talk about. Not respecting Black coworkers' intelligence and the skills they bring to the workplace. Sometimes it's like you hired me because of my skills, and then you acting like I can't do any of them. Holding Black people accountable for tasks that aren't theirs, but not holding white people accountable for the tasks they're doing wrong. Forming cliques that don't include people that look like you. Like, sometimes you're like, when a team is smaller, you're like bonding with your coworkers, and then as soon as more white people come to the team, it's like you get left behind. Like, oh, we ain't had no connection. like, oh, y'all having a little side. You could tell in the big meeting, oh, y'all got side meetings. I'm not invited to the side meeting? I can tell y'all talk about something y'all talked about offline. I used to be in the offline conversations. What happened? I ain't do nothing to y'all. So why I'm not invited no more?
And the worst thing about, sorry to interrupt, but the worst thing about that too is when something new is happening at the company and you never heard about it, but then they implement it and you're supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah, that's happened, and it's funny when when that happens with me, I just say, yeah, people don't tell me shit. That's all I say. You know what I'm saying? And when I say people, they know I'm talking about them too, the one I'm talking to right there. Yeah, people don't tell me shit. So of course I ain't gonna know. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, do you keep up with the woo wop? And I'm like, nah, I don't keep up with the woo wop. You know what I'm saying? If we cool, when you hear something exciting, right? Because I got my small circle. When they hear something exciting, they immediately slack me. Trey, you hear about this? Well, okay, that's what's up. And it's like, but again, I've already accepted the fact I got my small circle. Anything outside of that is gonna be like pulling teeth, and my teeth are staying in my mouth.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you don't want me to do? Okay, then I won't do that. Okay, that's fine. You didn't tell me. I can't be responsible for stuff you don't tell me.
Right.
Boom. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do my work and take my ass home. You feel me?
And one more thing, talking to Black peers in certain spaces, but not acknowledging them in other spaces. So something I always remember about college and majoring in animation. I remember I had this classmate had a whole conversation in class, and I saw her out on the quad, and she acted like she didn't know who I was, and I was like, oh wow,
that's way out. So let me ask you this. What do you think was the reason she didn't acknowledge you when y'all was now amongst other people?
I don't know. I just was good for she was bored in class, I guess, and I just was good for the conversation, and then divert the eyes when we out on the grass. I don't know. I have no clue. But people in animation, they can be weird too. So
100%. Yeah.
Definitely. Were you two of few Black people in the class?
My freshman year of college, I was 2 of 60 2 Black people out of 60 people in the film and animation department.
Hey, I have a question for both of you. Have you ever met a Black person somewhere that really blacked it up when you were around?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've dealt with that. I've dealt with that.
You'll be a Black person that, like, yo, what up, nigga? Have you tried the chicken, nigga? And you're like,
what the fuck wrong with you?
Is this verbal black? like you sound like verbal blackface. Like you sound like you're trying to be Black. Why are you talking like this? It's.
You know what? I actually got into it. I got into it with a cat. It was on Slack because this is after we had went home because of COVID or whatever. Blah blah blah. And he would always side bus in conversations I would have with, like, say, another brother. You know what I'm saying? Me and another brother talking about something. He side busting because it was a group. It was like a group. It was a Slack channel with all the not all the Black folks, but most of them. Like it was like 7 out of 15. So, and he would always side bus, you know what I'm saying? Just saying weird shit, and then I just got at him, you know what I'm saying? I flamed him real quick, and now he changes his, I know some of my opinions aren't popular. I said, bro, your opinions don't bother me. Your character does. Your character bothers me. You know what I'm saying? And I said, let's not talk. You feel me? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want anybody even mistaking that we from the same, that you from my community, right? And then he put in our community. He wrote back our community. Like, he had to let it be known, like, he's from I'm like, bro, we ain't cut from the same place. We is not from the same place. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he definitely was trying to put it on thick when it was just me and him talking now. Because I took him out to group Slack because I was flaming him. And people in there was like, damn, Dre. I'm like, nah. You feel me? He kind of came in and want to go left when me and Pod having a conversation. You ain't even involved in this, So I'm like, yeah, let's meet you go over and talk over here real quick because I gotta let you know something. Yeah, he was extra, man. Extra.
It's like relax.
Yeah, man.
Like don't. I'm not your homie. I'm not your bruh. listen to how I talk and follow suit. Like let's relax, you know?
That's it. Just, yeah, it's okay.
But we are not a monolith.
We are not a monolith. Not at all. Not at all, man. Yeah. No,
But
I definitely.
also, when white people do that to us as well, where they will talk to us in AAVE, like we not bilingual, or like they'll only talk to us personal when they're mentioning Black things.
Yeah, and that's very that's very
I
strange
like
too.
Golden Girls too. I go to the opera.
Listen, I got one of my allies, one of the people that spoke up for me when I got hired at PDI DreamWorks. So we was at the table. We were at the lunch table. Her name's Laura. We was at the lunch table. Everybody talking about it was I forgot who was in the series, but everybody was talking about the NBA series. What year was it? I think it was like 07, 08. And I'm just eating, right? Because I like football and fighting. I really don't watch NBA. I did back in the 80s and 90s when it was like, when cats wasn't falling out, like getting nicked by an elbow when they falling out. It disgusts me. So I don't watch the NBA, right? So I'm just eating. And somebody's like, Dre, what you think? I'm like, man, I don't watch the NBA, man. I'm eating. And they said, you don't? I said, is that shocking? Whole table got silent, right? And I said, so why is it shocking that I don't watch NBA? Laura put him on blast. Dre, because since you're Black, they think you watch the NBA. I was like, okay, tell it, Laura. Tell it. You know what I'm saying? And everybody nervous now. And I'm like, it's okay. I ain't tripping. But yeah, I don't watch basketball. I went back to eat my food, man. It's like, y'all are too extra, man.
That happened to me with one of my like work friends where we would go on these like walks at work. And so one time we walking and we talking and my friend was like, so Deborah, as a Beyonce fan, I'm like, I am actually one of the few Black women who are not like she cool, but I don't characterize myself as a fan. Like I'm more of a Destiny's Child fan. I'll go to a Destiny's Child concert. I don't characterize myself as a Black Beyonce fan, but it was just so matter of fact. Like as a Beyonce fan, I ain't never talked about Beyonce ever in my life. Following podcasts because they talk about Beyonce so much. I'm like, okay, like I get it. Like, oh,
but doesn't she speak to you as
right.
a Black woman?
Y'all gotta talk about it every episode. Like, all right, but it just was like, as a Beyonce fan, I was like, what? Like,
I hate it. I hate it when racism movies win Oscars. Because the film buffs at work want to talk about it with me, like Green Book and shit.
Oh,
like, have you seen? And then their excuses, it won an Oscar. Like that's always their excuse. Like, no, that didn't make it good.
Yeah,
Driving Miss Daisy won an Oscar over Do the Right Thing. So, and Do the Right Thing wasn't even nominated. Neither was Malcolm X. So I don't know what you're trying to.
And I've had a coworker, a white coworker. They watched all the the Spider-Man and all that type movies. They did not go to see Into the Spider-Verse, and it wasn't because it was animation. I was like, okay.
Well, that's the reason why
actively say anything, but I was like, I know why you didn't go see it.
Real talk.
Well, my thing is, for my Black creators, my Black filmmakers out there, please stop making movies about Black trauma and slavery and shit. Because now we got fucking. Now we have to talk about like Lena Waithe. Please stop. Like I want to talk with my white. I remember at the last company I was at. I'm friends with the vice president, and he's a white guy, Canadian guy, and we would have conversations about film and stuff, right? And the subject of Queen and Slim came up because he got the screener, and he was like, "Yo, have you seen Queen and Slim?" And I was like, no, I don't really. That movie doesn't interest me. And he was trying to proud to see why I wasn't interested in the movie. And I was like, I see enough Black, and I just told him, I said, I see enough Black people getting shot on Twitter and Facebook. I don't need to see a movie about.
And that's you drug him into the deep end right there. Oh, yeah, you want to talk about this? Okay.
So eventually, I saw the movie, right? And now the conversation got deeper because it wasn't about Black trauma. It was about, this movie is trash. Like this movie, like the way it was written is trash. The characters are trash and all stuff. And he assumed that I was going to like the movie because it was about, quote unquote, the Black experience. And I was like, Black people don't do none of that shit that happened in the movie. Like, it was written by Black people.
One of the scenes that pissed me off when it was like,
see,
okay,
I gotta see this movie now because now I wish I saw the movie so I can join. But I definitely didn't have an interest in seeing.
Okay,
the movie.
2 points.
See,
so this Black woman is a lawyer. It's supposed to be smart, but she got the dude going to the gas station. Like, oh, there's only so much a dude can change his appearance when y'all on a run. She could put on a wig, she could put on a different outfit. Why you got him going to the gas station and all he could do was shave off his beard or add a, like, why? And then number 2, they on the run and they stop in the cornfield to have sex and they taking off all their clothes. Y'all are on the run. Pull it to the side. Like, what are you doing? Don't nobody take off all their clothes when they
sounds like a weird ass film.
And the situation
naked.
and the situation that they were in was her fault, by the way. So it's just one of those things.
Y'all gotta be able to vroom at any point, so y'all gotta pull it to the side. Like, y'all can't be all out.
So the point is, and that's why I'm talking about some Black people that are in positions in Hollywood. Y'all gotta really, because now all of a sudden you wrote it. Now I'm supposed to like it as far as white people are concerned. So
yeah.
So what happens is these conversations get uncomfortable because everyone's looking at me like, didn't you love 12 Years a Slave? Didn't you love, whoop-de-woo, whatever? And now I have to explain to them, well, I don't have to, but they're going to get this explanation why I don't like the movie.
Yeah. And usually, what? And when I have those conversations, because there are certain movies I watch about, like, I saw Judas and the Black Messiah, right? Because that was about within the trauma, Fred Hampton rose to this amazing status in the Black community. He was changing shit, you know what I'm saying? So I'll watch movies like that, or movies like the movie about Nat Turner. Like, I'll watch that. It took place in chattel slavery, but he got busy. You know what I'm saying? He woke up and got busy. So, but when I talk to like, if white folks come to me and they're talking about, hey, did you see this movie, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, nah, not really. I'm like, see, the difference between me and you, I'll tell it. I'll say, you like seeing Black folks in subservient roles. So that's why you like it. They're like, whoa. And they stop the conversation right there. So it kind of, I just hit them with the truth and let them go about their business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I'm tired I ain't trying to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to see I'm trying to see us in triumphant roles.
I was so sad. I don't think it was like Spike Lee produced, but somebody else did it. It was like that. The 2 kids. It was like this. It wasn't like sci-fi. It was like science-y, where they were going back into the past or whatever.
Oh, see you yesterday.
I was so excited about that movie, and then it was like, wow, she's going back to the past because her brother got shot and she's trying to save him. Like, why can't this be like a little kid? Like, oh yeah, we going back into the past, not too far, but like, or to the right part. But like, it was just like, so this is surrounded by trauma. Okay.
And Michael J. Fox was able to go back in time to get his parents to kiss. That's it. He went back in time to get his parents to kiss.
That was a damn good contrast right there. That was the way you pulled that out your pocket, right? Wow.
That's white privilege in movies. That's what that is.
100%. That's real. Shit. That was good. That was a good one right there. That was a good pull.
So to continue on with the conversation, I kind of brought it up, but this is titled Weird Interactions. So like only sending us Black things, and then like speaking to us in unsuccessfully learned AAVE. It's not even like so for people who don't know, AAVE is African American Vernacular English. It used to be called Ebonics. AAVE is an entire dialect. It has its own grammar. System. You can speak it wrong. We find out by all these people on TikTok who speak it, or on social media who tear up some AAVE because they don't know. They think they could just say anything and string a couple words together and they talk in AAVE, and like, nah, there's an order of things, because it also goes back to West Africa and how those languages, the grammar structure. And I even have to debate Black people. Sometimes it's older Black people on talking AAVE, and it's like, No, it's a dialogue. There's no right way to talk. There's a standard of what we're learned in school, but but AAVE is not wrong, and it's not ignorant. Also, in that, I remember watching a video recently on TikTok where, or that there was like a thing on Instagram where they were somebody on Twitter was talking about they accidentally code switched and said like circle the block or something like that, and they had to abort mission. And the thing about us presenting ourselves authentically in workplaces is that, like, I don't feel like I code switch, but also if you use AAVE, they are so quick to take it and try to use it. Like, why don't you just, this is how I talk. This is how you talk. You don't have to take it as your own. Why they be taking so much?
You know, they're being consistent though, right? They're being consistent. We got to give them that. They love taking, because it sounds wavy, right? When we talk, it has that. I always say we're the flavor to savor, right? So anytime anything we do is just, you know, it's so alluring. So of course they're gonna take it. You feel what I'm saying? But
I don't have to talk to us in AAVE, particularly if you have not mastered the grammar structure. And
real talk.
Be like that.
Real talk.
Well, it's almost like they want to be cool, because the thing that white people don't want to admit, even though they kind of admit it, is that they want to be accepted by black people. That's the reason they be dancing, but they do it in like a disingenuous way. Like they dance, and that's about it. They dance like that. Like that's really that's all. I don't know anything else.
Hey, he was trying to pull something else.
There's one more thing. I be pissed off. I'm like, no matter the age, no matter the socioeconomic status, people gotta make a rap song. Why can't y'all make a country or a rock song? Why everybody got to try to do a rap song? You be in the church, you Methodist, and you in Oklahoma trying to rap. Like, why?
They're trying to keep up.
Country is trash. First of all, country.
Yeah, and they trying to keep up, right? Because hip hop is the new hotness, and then when we invent something else, they'll want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it comes down to, you know.
Our stuff, even though it was our stuff originally. Like, we was
100%.
both. So in country, we was both there, and then rock was us.
Yep, and jazz was us. Yep, pretty much. Yeah.
Us.
But at least they're staying consistent with the whole taking the stuff and trying to make it their own. They're staying consistent. Can't.
Because what we're hinting at is colonization. Something that I missed in the previous subtitle was them colonizing our spaces. So there's been a couple, and this is my phrasing that I choose to use. It's not a phrase amongst Black people. It is, but in this particular instance, this is just me. So a couple times where it's happened, where I had a coworker where he will ignore the hell out of me and not acknowledge, like we was cool when he first started, but then he kind of like drifted off. And so he would come to work, not talk to me, and then another Black person come and talk to me, and then he come and join our conversation, and then even have the audacity to be like, "Oh yeah, Deborah been being mean to me. I ain't even been talking to you, bro. Like, what are you even talking about? This is weird. Like, first you're colonizing my conversation. Like, cause I would sometimes be like, can we go over here and talk so he don't come in our conversation? Cause like, why are you over here? And then have the audacity to say that I've been doing something to you that I have not been doing. That was just weird. And then another way that I felt like my space has been colonized is to get up the gumption and the confidence to present in a meeting that you are being treated differently, and for them to be like, oh yeah, because I experienced that too. Like, nah, not the specific thing that I just said. You are not experiencing that. Why do you have to come over to what me speaking up for myself and trying to say that something is happening in this space that I don't like, and then trying to like commandeer it and be like, oh yeah, we all go through that and all this stuff. No, we don't all go through that. Why? Colonizer, go over there.
Colonizer, go over there.
That goes back to what we were talking about before, how people think that all of these social justice movements are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're not actually having like one conversation. It's we all go through because the enemy, when it comes to social justice, the enemy has always been it's the straight white man or whatever, right? Which to a certain extent that's true, but what happens is it's hard for us to have the Emmett Till conversations. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, it's because of the, and so no one's taking responsibility for anything, and it's like, look, I'm not necessarily trying to make anyone feel bad. I'm not necessarily trying to blame anyone for anything. But the conversation that needs to be had is we need to acknowledge, just like myself as a man, there's a conversation that I need to have as a man in my relationship to women and other people and stuff like that too, where it's like, okay, I need to learn from this. Like both things can be true at the same time. So what happens is when we try to center ourselves and we start conflating everything, nothing gets done. Because everybody wants their thing to be fixed first.
100%. 100%. And I'll be honest with people too. I'm like, yeah, I'm working on my community. That's what I'm working on. I suggest you go work on what you got to go work on. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that we can't eventually work together, but I think Malcolm X said it best, right? Or it was Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X in the movie. And when the white girl walked up and said, "What can I do to help?" And he said, "Nothing. Go that way. You got stuff to fix over there. What we're doing, you can't help with this. We got this to do over here, and that's it."
To be on social media and have a bunch of white people saying some wrong stuff, and then like me call them out, not calling them names, not like decorating them, whatever the word is, but like just responding to what they're doing, and then having a white person talk to me, and I'm like, so you pass all these white people to talk to me about how I'm talking to them.
100%. But that, you know what, that's that man. You know, I don't know if y'all seen The Manchurian Candidate, the movie called The Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah,
that's about dude was brainwashed to be an assassin, and he didn't even know he was brainwashed. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, the person that's trying to find out who this assassin is finds out it's like, oh, it's this dude over here that's actually one of our people, and he don't even know he's got the battery in his back. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to wake people up from that shit. It's tough, man. You know, because they first off, they don't want to admit, right, that they've been duped. So they're gonna come up with some type of they're gonna become steeped in cognitive dissonance that's so layered. You got to sit there and dig for forever. Man, I ain't about to use my energy to do that. Stay your ass buried.
And
you know what I'm saying?
To what I just said, but in a physical aspect, is that when we see all these videos of people of color being taunted by white people, or like maybe black people will be taunted by somebody, and don't nobody step in until we react. Then y'all trying to save the white person or the person who's attacking us. Where was the energy when they were verbally attacking us? Why y'all didn't try to stop them then? But now y'all trying to stop us because we're responding to them spitting on us or to them hitting us first. But
Real talk.
I mean,
when
it comes to unconscious bias, I mean, that basically shows that unconscious bias leads to violence.
Yeah.
There's always that justification, and again, that's the nuance of the conversation, because it gets to. I'm not going to say that words cause violence per se, but I'm saying that the aggression can, because again, it's the people that have the support system is where the danger comes from. Because if you have the support system, you can say whatever, and then that supports. And a lot of times when it comes to white folks, they'll shoot first and ask questions later.
Damn right.
That's why it's important to. I lost my thought, but you understand what I'm saying.
You know, I was actually I was in a group. I was in a meeting where a group of folks were, you know, that they consider themselves allies and whatnot. It was at Blue Sky, and one lady was talking about trying to talk to, you know, black folks about what she can do. You know what I'm saying? Because she would come in with just a clean slate. Tell me what you need me to do. I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And she says she says she has difficulty getting the information, you know, like she has difficulty with trying to get the orders. I said, you got to understand something. And this never occurred to her. I said, you got to understand something. Look throughout history. anytime, y'all would come to us claiming that you wanted to help, and as soon as we open that door, who comes in after you? You might want to help, but then the next 4 or 5 people that come in after you burn the house down, burn our shit down. And guess what? The people that burned our shit down are your cousins and uncles and shit. Mm-hmm. So you ain't gonna turn against your cousins and uncles. She was like, damn, I didn't think of it that way. I said, that's what we thinking about when you coming and talking to us. That's what's in our mind. You got to understand what we seeing.
Or additionally, you're asking us to do the work.
Well, I didn't mind her saying, she's like, tell me what to do. In
other instances, like, you're asking me to do the work for you to help me with, like, and I told you this, Dre, like, last week or something like that. I'm not the intro to help person. There are some Black people who are the 101 class, like, I'm not that person. I need
real talk.
I need you to do some research and then ask me an educated question. Let me be able to tell 100%. That you actually did something first, and then you're I'm not Blake's Blake person, because you gonna annoy me. You're gonna piss me off because you ain't even tried yet. Mm-hmm. Go read a book. Go watch 13. Go watch the Ava DuVernay.
There's a lot out there. Do
some research, and then ask me a pointed question of conversation. Don't ask me what can I do. I'm not going to answer your question.
And I think that goes back to the whole. Again, how they view us, right? We are the like. What did D.L. Hughley say? D.L. Hughley said, "You didn't build this country. You just handed out the work orders. We actually did the work. You know what I'm saying?" And it's like, so I think that's another unconscious bias where they expect us to jump in first and start doing things. Like, wait a minute, hold on.
That's when I was tearing it down. Y'all ain't ask us when y'all was making the rules. Why y'all gotta ask us now?
You feel? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's like nah, and y'all are the one with the issue, not us.
Right.
Nah, bruh. It ain't happening like that.
And that's honestly how you can help us talk to the people, talk to y'all people. Don't talk
Tim, I always suggest Tim Wise to like white folks. I'm like, go listen to Tim Wise. That's all you got to do. Just find him on YouTube or wherever he's at. Just listen to him. And let me tell you, only a few people came back. You said what, Deborah?
The white people's backpack or something like that. Because sometimes when you talk about white privilege, they only associate it with money, and it's like it's a whole other thing outside of money. You can be poor and have white privilege. So there's like a Unpacking the Backpack or something like that. That's a book that you can read about white privilege, because it teaches you, even if you're poor, you can have white privilege.
Yeah, you still have access to all this. Like just endless amounts of shit you got access to. 100%.
A couple other things under the weird interactions. I've had this interesting thing where in 2 totally different spaces of the country, being called mischievous just from existing. Like, it's kind of crazy by white women. And it's just like, what? It's so weird that it's like, why do you need to call me mischievous?
Yeah, I usually get aggressive. That's the one I get all the time. Aggressive. I'm like, I crack jokes and laugh all the time.
Right. Like, I'm laughing at your jokes. That's my smirk. Is laughing at your jokes.
Yeah.
Someone said I was sassy in the chats, and I had to check them.
You sassy? You sassy, Kenan?
I was sassy in the Google chats.
That was hilarious.
Which you can tell this person's never been around Black people, because it's like sassy in the chats.
Sassy in the chats.
Sassy in the chats, I was called. And it was only because an artist had an attitude with me, and all I said was, well, I just responded accordingly. I didn't put him down or anything. I said, well, it was done. Under my understanding, it was done yesterday. No, this is what happened. I was scheduled to start working. I was scheduled to start working at 11, and the problem had been fixed the day before, but it occurred again the next day. So this dude was coming at me in the chats with a whole bunch of attitude for like hours, like from 9 until I got online. And I said, "Did you submit a ticket?" He's like, "No, because this was a problem that you were working on, and this and that. So I just reached out to you and assumed that you were nowhere to be found." And I said, "Well, on Tuesdays I start at 11. So if you would have submitted a ticket, your problem would probably be fixed by now. But I'll see what I can do. Just so you know, this is the way things are from here forward, right?" So after that interaction, he goes to HR and reports me, like a formal report of me having some type of attitude. And then my boss thought it was a good idea to come at me and say, "Oh, someone said you were sassy in the chats."
The way you say it though, your inflection is amazing. Sassy.
What the fuck does that mean? Sassy in the chats. Like, oh my god.
I was telling him the proper procedure from him getting sassy with me.
I see. Kid is like, "Can you say something more? Say something like that hits sassy in the chat.
Say something like I don't. It's one of those things where I'm starting to think that a lot of people in Hollywood have never been in fights before, because I'm like, you be saying stuff like you never got punched in the mouth. Like that's like the way you keep talking. You never got punched in the mouth before. Maybe that needs to change.
Sassy in the chats.
I had a review, and they were like, "Oh, somebody said that you were like correcting them in the Skype chat," and I just was like, And then I actually remembered the interaction. I was like, I was correcting myself because I spelled a word wrong, and then I was like, "Oh, let me correct the word," and then somebody reported me because I corrected them.
What is this reporting stuff? Because see, I haven't got I got reported when I almost put hands on dude. That one happened. But let me think. Have I? Nah. But you know what? I think it's because I kind of stay off. I stay off to myself, and I think between us, y'all two have probably been in situations where you're dealing with the broader amount of people, like more people than I am. I'm dealing with and I tell people, I don't want to be involved in this, that, and the third. Let me do my work. Let me just do my work and turn it in, and I'm good. I'm cool with that. I'm cool.
And this is no matter who I interact with. Because I present the way I present, people think they could talk to me any kind of way, and then they get surprised when they can't. And so people view me as like mousy, I guess, because the timbre of my voice and how I look and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anderson, and I'm from Detroit, so you can't talk to me any kind of way. And so people come at me and then get surprised when I come back at them, and it's like, but you came at me first. So
you need to get you a sign right over behind your chair. I'm from the D, right? And then put like a URL that when they go there, it explains what that means. I'm like, okay, I get it now. You know what I'm saying?
but that is true. That is true because again, that unconscious bias is that there is a unbiased idea of what Black is, and the level of aggression that they assume Blackness is. Like a lot of people, they don't admit. A lot of people we watching hip hop videos and blacked.com porno and all that stuff. So in their mind, media has basically
come back at them, and it's like, I am not the stereotype of who will come back at them.
Yeah.
Their mind is, they're like, oh well, this is a Black guy that I'm not going, or a Black person rather, that I'm not going to fuck with. But this guy is, or this woman is the Urkel or the Carlton.
There's nothing in between. There's nothing in between.
Which again goes back to white writers and how it's really a disservice for us. Because they're assuming that Black nerds or Blacks that are perceived as nerdy don't have backbone, and that's the way that they perceive us. You know what I mean?
100%.
So what happens is there's a whole generation that grow up thinking this. So they're like, oh, if you're nerdy, either you're the only Black friend that only hangs out with white people, or you're soft. And then when we come back at them and we're like, oh no, I'm still very much
a part of my culture.
I'm still gonna stick up for myself.
Yeah, I'm still gonna stick up for myself. I'm very 100%. Much the person that you're afraid of. And it's almost like they're more scared of those that seem to be soft that are not. Because we're unpredictable. Because it's like,
yeah. And we're also shattering their expectation, right?
Exactly.
Their expectation is now gone. So now they don't know how to categorize or reference this person that's standing in front of them. So now they got to make up something. So now they're pulling just from the latest rap video or the latest movie. Like, I gotta fill this with a new image.
Like, oh my God, this person is an individual.
Right.
So at the same time, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, homie. And you're like, I don't talk that way.
Yeah, not at all. At least not with you. We ain't doing that.
You're not. You can't talk to me that way. You
know what I mean? It's not good.
Because they're trying to figure it out, and it's like, no, we can still talk normal. You know, but,
that's what they're like. Wait. No, don't do that either. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, we're good.
You ain't gotta do. Just shake my hand. How you doing? And let's just have a conversation.
Like thing. Dang, what was recent? Where all the white people was doing the fist. I'm like, y'all can't pick any other symbol. like
yeah, or just no symbol at all. Stay within your shit and help us that way. Just we ain't gotta look the same or act the same, you know.
So another weird thing is so there's not this acknowledgement. A lot of white people aren't familiar with like the black codes or the slave codes and how they can unconsciously know them, but not consciously know them. So I remember at a previous place that I worked, every single time 3 or more black people were gathered, a white person, not the same white person, a white person passing had to talk, say something, had to mention that we were gathered. And so, you know, the black codes, slave codes were either in slavery was rules that we had to abide by, or after we were freed were rules that we had to abide by. And one of them was enslaved people or black people, depending on the time period, could not assemble unless a white person was present. And I remember there was one time where it was me and another black person and a white person, and the same person that had made a couple comments did not make a comment once we were with a white person. But it's like every time 3 black people or more congregated, they think we plotting to revolutionize or something.
Let me tell you, so the first place I went when I got locked up was San Quentin. I was there in my carrot suit.
Mm-hmm.
In there, it is told to the black folks, you can walk in 2s only.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else can be like 3, 4, doesn't matter. But the black folks, they straight tell you right there, you can walk in 2s only. You walk in 3s, you get rushed.
Slavery is abolished except when you go to prison. And so they
100%.
can those things, like people think slavery is gone. No, slavery was never abolished.
Yeah. So we only could walk in 2s. It was a trip watching on the yard. You'll see, you know, two brothers here, 2 brothers here, 2 brothers here. Then you'll see like 4 or 5 white people walking together. You know what I'm saying? They was, and they straight said, it's because we scared of y'all. We know what y'all can do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody knows about the Soledad 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called. Yeah, it was like when Soledad prison was taken over by. It was 12 inmates altogether, but the 7 that was the core of the takeover were 7 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, yeah, we know what y'all can do with very little. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we only could walk in 2s when I was in there.
Well, what's interesting about that, because you guys remember in the 80s and 90s how white people never divulged who they voted for?
Say that again. They never divulged what?
Who they voted for?
In the 80s.
Remember in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah.
How every time there was an election, and you would literally be like, "Hey, who are you voting for?" And they would be like, "I don't talk about that." Like it's different than now. They're like, "I don't talk about that."
Yeah.
And it's interesting how
I never thought of that. That's true. That's true.
Because what it was is that it wasn't our business. And that's
right.
And that's what they're scared of. That's what they're scared of. Because they be doing the same thing too. They be having secret meetings. Mm-hmm. They be having, you know, they have a special Republican Party meeting that nobody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, when they go to the lodge, when they go, that's one of the reasons I believe that they don't want us like in country clubs and places like that, and you know, because that's where decisions are made.
100%. That's
You
real.
know, so any place where where white folks are making decisions,
The real decisions.
there's going to be pushback from anybody outside of that group.
And then what you're saying is our business is their business.
Because they need to know, because our business has to do with their plans.
We the lifeblood. We're the lifeblood.
Like a lot of times, like I've been saying this forever. Like during the pandemic and stuff, you like when you look on social media, have you noticed the uptick of anti-Black messaging that has been on social media since the pandemic started?
I've seen it all pretty much like way before the pandemic.
but way before the pandemic. But if you notice, like during the pandemic, a lot of influencers start talking a lot about relationships between Black women and Black men.
Yeah, that's been talked about a lot.
And then what's been happening recently is now white people are now starting to get involved in the conversation, because then you had a bunch of brothers on TikTok making videos about dating white women, and now white women are like, okay, now we can come in and start talking about y'all now, right? So it's one of those things, like, you know, like the psychological warfare. You know, it's the Tokyo Rose and the I can't think of the name, but during World War II, what they used to do, they got Japanese Americans and German and Italian Americans, and they went over to their countries during World War II. And while they weren't fighting, they would be in a radio station in the capital of the country, and they will be shit talking to the Americans over a loudspeaker. And when it was a spot where they knew that there was Black soldiers, they were like, you know, America don't give a fuck about you.
I do remember.
Yeah,
in Vietnam, they were dropping leaflets and stuff to the Black soldiers, like, what are you doing over here? Why are you here?
Yeah, you know, America don't give a fuck about you. You know, Italian white women love y'all. Come over here. We got fried chicken and biscuits.
God damn it,
some gravy. We got blah blah blah. You know, we'll rub your feet. We'll do this. We'll do that. Right. And that's what's happening. I believe that's what's happening now, specifically through media, through social media, and all that stuff. So when we apply it to corporate America, it's that psychological warfare where, when a bunch of us get together, you get people making comments. Like, I remember at the last company I worked at, there was a Black woman that started working there. It's just me and her. And we would talk. We would have lunch together. We would talk. And it was just so happened that she was very attractive. So it was like a lot of dudes were like, oh my God, have you seen so-and-so? Like, she's really attractive. So, but I was her friend, right? And her boss was like a white woman or whatever. But like when we would talk, you would see people would like look while we're talking. And we would just be talking shit. Like, we weren't talking about anybody, but it was noticeable that we were talking to each other and conversations were being had behind the scenes about us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
I actually had the reverse of what y'all experienced. When I was at Blue Sky, there was 4 of us talking, right? 3 brothers and 1 sister. We talking, chilling. People just, walking by, not paying attention to us. One of the brothers in the conversation was like, we gotta quiet down, man. And I said full like volume. What the fuck for? He was like, man, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what? No, I ain't doing that, dude. I can't do that. I felt disgusted. I'm not doing that. I can't do that. Fuck all that, man. I couldn't do it.
That's an amazing point. A lot of times when I'll be hanging out places and there'll be a bunch of white people around, and it's always the person that's always the token.
Yeah, man. And I get it.
Always the token.
I get it. He felt the pressure. He felt it. It was there. When people walk by, nobody said that when they walked by. Nobody said anything, but you felt that energy. You know what I'm saying? And it folded him. And I wanted to grab him and shake him. God damn it. Don't do that. Because you're making me look bad.
A funny version of that is like when I was at one of my previous companies, I had just got done talking to one of my coworkers and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot something. So I had like went because her office was right by my cubicle, and then she was like gone. I was like, oh dang, where'd you go? So let me go this way. Her and another black coworker was going that way. I was coming around this way. Another black coworker was coming this way, and then another black coworker was coming this way, and like almost all the black people that worked at the company diverged accidentally on the same point, and
that whole company almost blew up.
We was all like, we all start running like we can't have like 7 or 8 black people actually in the same spot and not like, we was like, oh, dude.
A Klansman was gonna appear out of a puff of smoke. Poof, just a straight Klansman just appear.
like Voldemort.
Yeah, right. For real.
I remember
we was all like, oh shit, like it was such an accident, and it was like essentially every black person that was at work that day converged on the same spot accidentally, and we was all like, nope, we.
I remember one time I was working as a valet when I lived in Philly. I worked for a valet company, and our boss got it was a white dude, and he got replaced by a black woman from New Jersey.
Ooh wee.
And
talk about it. We
became friends like immediately. Like we became friends like immediately because she had to stay in a hotel because they brought her in. The company brought her in, and she had to stay in the hotel. She's like, "Yo, there's no one to hang out with. Yo, let's, maybe we could go out to dinner." Like it was no like romantic. It was no like it was friends, right? And I remember because it was mostly white guys, and the rumors started circulating. Oh, they're hanging out or whatever, right? And I remember at my post, I started hearing the words "chain of command," which I had not heard before.
Lord have mercy.
And basically what they were trying to do, they were trying to tell me that I shouldn't talk to her. That's what they were trying to tell me. They're telling, you shouldn't have like a relationship with her because of this is what they said, but you read between the lines.
100%.
Because of the biases that we give to each other, we don't want y'all talking because you might know shit that we don't know.
But you can be best friends. But you could be best friends with your white boss, though.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a problem. Chain. Yeah, basically, it's like, oh, if you need to talk to her, you need to talk to the supervisor of this post. And what ended up happening, I became the supervisor of that post. That's what ended up happening. But when it was like chain of command, I was like, oh, y'all are scared.
100%.
Y'all, because when it wasn't a black woman that was in charge, they were doing black jokes and all that stuff. And I was saying, but when a black woman came, and all of a sudden I'm talking to this black woman, or we're having jokes or we're laughing, all of a sudden, oh no, we need to squash this immediately.
100%. That's right. And you know what? It's one of those things where the way we talk, we'll sit here, we could have a conversation and get real with the slang, and cats won't even know what we're talking about. That's what makes them nervous. That's what makes them nervous.
So like with us, there's this thing now where we're explaining AAVE to other people, and no, like AAVE, it's from its inception the point was to not be understood. Like some of it was out natural, like, okay, you have all these people with African languages that can't speak to each other, so we have to figure out how to speak English but also speak to each other. And so that's how we ended up learning. And we can't formally learn English, so that we have to do what we can, but also eventually it became a way to not be overheard by masses. And so now on TikTok, when people are talking to AAVE or doing the little TikTok videos, and then there's people in the comments asking, oh, what do you mean? Sometimes, like on Facebook, I was like, if you don't understand it, wasn't meant to be understood. Like
100%. You ain't a part of this.
But there's people like, oh, this is what this means. It's like, stop explaining stuff to people. But that's also because Black Americans don't understand the history of AAVE, particularly, when people say don't speak it, but also the people who are willing to speak it. The point was to not be understood. So if they don't understand what we're saying, so stop.
That's real talk. I actually told somebody that at the job when I said some stuff. I forgot what the conversation was, but I I hit somebody with something, and she said, a lady said, how did she say it? She said, I don't even know what that means. Or she said something to the effect of, like, can you break that down? You know, because I don't even know what that means. And I said, well, if you don't understand it, what it meant for you, you know. And she felt like, so I said, I'm not being offensive. I was talking to my peoples real quick, and it was for this person over here. It wasn't for nobody else at the table. You know, you ain't got to be involved in everything. You dig what I'm saying? I said, but if you just stopped and paid attention, you know what I'm saying? Come into my world, you might pick up some things, you might learn some things, you know what I'm saying? And best believe, after a while, things started coming out of her mouth just naturally, right? That's not, and I'm like, there you go. Now it's natural. Stop trying to force shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't think you're gonna come over here and pick up something real quick like you think this is elementary. It's not. It's not. We move quick. Okay.
The last thing I want to talk about was this. I kind of talked about not respecting our intelligence in the workplace, but also when responding to white coworkers, just accepting what they say as gospel, but always having a retort or response for black coworkers when we say something. And so I remember at a previous job, I was the manager, and what was crazy was, like, I was one of those that was part of the team and then became the manager. And you would think, you know, that's that power play where sometimes when you're part of the team and become a manager, then they don't like it and they trying to do stuff. But this was actually a new hire, and he was acting like the same behavior I expected from some of the people who were on my team, and then I became the manager of them. So it was like, you knew, why are you doing this? And so sometimes I would tell him to do things, and he's always like, oh, excuse, response. But if I said, this white man or this other white man told you to do it, immediately do it. No report.
And I have said to people, just act like a white man told you to do it. I've said that to people, just to get it out the way. You know what I'm saying? Just pretend. And this is usually to other black folks, because a lot of times, you know, we don't trust each other enough. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll pull a motherfucker's car. I'll pull somebody's car real quick. I'll pull somebody's car real quick and just say, hey, just pretend like a white man told you to do it. I'm like, damn. I'm like, hey, I'm just, you seem like you having some issues here. You know what I'm saying? So I figured, you know, if you feel like Silverman or whoever the hell, you know, told you to do it, maybe, you know, you'll actually respect, you know, the request.
And then there'd be instances where a white coworker, like, so some people are not problem solvers, so they immediately, when they have trouble, they're like, oh, fix it, please. And it's like, did you try to fix it yourself first? And so when they say they're having trouble and they're insinuating that you're the cause of the trouble, it's immediately like, oh, okay, Deborah did something wrong. But it's like, no, they did something wrong, because that's human error. That what I delivered to them, that didn't cause the issue. And then there's this like repetitive nature of them like messing up in public spaces. And it's like they're willingly saying that they're messing up. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, is anybody seeing this? Like, are they actually taking in that this person is continually messing up? And so like Pavlov's dog, if you continually mess up and it's constantly your issue, then you should stop believing them at some point. That I'm doing something wrong, or that they're actually having an issue. It's like, you're doing something wrong, and we've proved this over and over again. They've admitted to it, but y'all not. There's no Pavlov's dogs right here.
You know, go ahead, Kenan.
No, you go ahead. It's fine.
I actually had so when I was still in production management, I was a PA over here in this department, and this other girl, we both came from facilities, got into production management. She's over here, and I think she was an editorial or something like that. So anytime somebody would call her and needed the line to be switched or whatever, you know, doing some complicated stuff with the phones, she would call me to do it. Right? And I said, didn't you, when we was in facilities, we covered for security when they went on their break. So we covered the phone downstairs where people was calling every 30 seconds. wanting to be hooked to this person and this person, that, you know what I'm saying? And she said, oh, I didn't do that. I said, how did you get up here? How'd you get this job up here? I said, let me tell you something. You call me again, I'm going to talk bad every time you get on the phone with me. Every time I'm talking bad about your ass. She was like, I'm sorry. I said, take your ass and learn what the hell. I had to learn the shit to get up here. You would have to take your ass and learn that shit. Take your ass back downstairs facilities and have Drew teach you that shit. I was so hot. I was hot. I'm sorry. You are sorry. That's your issue. You're sorry. Expecting me to do this goddamn work for your ass. I was so mad. Whew, I just relived it. My bad. I relived it.
The issue that I had, especially working in IT and production, is that people really don't want to communicate. And it's almost like everyone's trying to like prove themselves or prove that they're better than someone else in IT. That when you tell them that they need to explain something or communicate, they don't do it. Like they're like, "Oh, you told me to do some shit. I'm not going to do it." And that's happened to me multiple times at multiple companies. Because, you know, it's like when you're always the last guy there, you're always like the new guy or whatever, right? So it's a very I remember I had a situation where I was working with a gentleman, and gentleman doesn't even speak English that well. Like, it's actually like every time my boss is like, oh, so and so is going to train you, I'm like, I'll just Google it. Because I'm gonna have to listen to him speak broken English, and he also likes to curse, and he's like cursing all wrong. He's like yes, we have to fix the fucking shit. This shit is fucking shit. And I'm like, dude, why are you cursing so much? Like, we're going over how to set up Outlook. Like, why are you cursing so much about this? Like it's not necessary. Stop it. I know you're trying to be like American or like whatever, but you don't have to curse.
Oh
like
my
this.
God.
So what was I saying? So it's basically it's you're saying, hey, you're humble enough to say, hey, I need help with this. How, especially when you're new at a company, you're like, how do you
time period where you can ask questions?
It's like, how do you do this at this? I know there's different ways to do it, but as a company, how do you do it? And then they're like, well, I just Google and learn. Oh, it's like, oh, that's why everything at this company's fucked up. Because there's don't you see this? Don't you see this as a problem? How I'm coming up with my way of doing it and you're coming up with your way of doing it?
There's no standard.
That's why we have this problem. Like you can't run Walt Disney Studios where everybody's looking up how to do stuff on Google. Like you have to have like a Disney manual. That's why this is how we do things, right? So you know, it started.
That's the part about being qualified. Like everybody got to be qualified. I'm like, none of these people here are qualified. Like,
well,
let me tell you,
exactly.
You do not have to be qualified to hold a position. We know that.
And what'll happen is, like, this is what happened to me. You get the job done, and then that person will come back and be like, "How did you do it?" Well, I did it this way. No, that's not the way we do it here, nigga. I asked you. How was it done? You said Google it. The way I did it worked, and you're telling me that's not how you do it?
We can tell if you work with Kenan, there's a few times where you be like, Kenan, let's go get something to eat, man. Let's go get something to eat real quick. we gotta wrap our hands around Kenan and make sure he all right.
I mean, Deborah can. I be texting Deborah. She can hear me yelling in the text. I'm like, this nigga, and he's not even black. He's away. I'm like, this nigga is driving me crazy.
Oh my God.
And I don't even say the N-word, but when I say it, I'm like, I mean it. Like when
it's serious. It's serious.
It's serious. So that's what happens. That's literally what happens. It's like there's no communication, and then they want to flip it and be like, you did it wrong.
You know what's funny too, because I use technology to make films. I'm not technically savvy. You know what I'm saying? I got a little something, you know what I'm saying? But I'm the guy that'll be like, tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? And then they're thinking that that's a and it could be because of how I present myself. They think that I'm not serious, that I really want. And I'm like, no, let me know how to do this stuff. Well, Dre, we really want to make sure that you feel. I don't feel nothing. I just want to know how to do it so then I can continue my work. And you're the expert, so I'm deferring to your expertise. You can tell me things and I will do them. And they do not want to. Well, I think we should find a natural equilibrium where we can, bruh. You're doing too much here. I'm trying to make it simple. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. It's fine. It's like, yo, I don't understand it. You're making shit complicated.
Because we want to do the job well. That's why I'm asking. Because the experience that all three of us has had is, if I do it my way, someone is going to find shit wrong with it. I'm trying to avoid that, and you're not helping me.
You feel me? It's like, bruh.
It's not that I don't know how to do it. I can do it. But I know that there are standards that you should have as a corporation or a company that I need to follow.
100%.
Because I'm trying to avoid.
Real talk. And the person I was talking to was dealing with actual pipeline building procedures. I said, bruh, I can't even touch what you do. So you shouldn't even be asking me for my opinions on this stuff. I make shit for the film. You underneath the hood dealing with serious technical shit. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it, because I can't even be in the conversation. I ain't got the expertise. And they really was trying to make me like part of it. You know, they was trying to make it where I felt empowered to give my own opinion. Bro, I ain't got no opinion. I don't even know what the fuck you be writing when you type in that line. I don't know. Just tell me what to do, and I'll, crazy, man.
I have dealt with that in relationships, and the thing was that they wanted you to choose so that they could blame you later.
Same thing. Damn, I didn't even trip on that.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Wow.
They want you to do it so they can blame you later. And
that didn't even occur to me.
If you teach them how to do it, then you could blame them later.
That didn't even. I'm out here butt ass naked. That didn't even occur to me. I'm out here with no game on this shit.
Because this is what happens. This is what happens. To Deborah's point, the boss is like, "Hey, did so and so do this? Oh, well, I told Kenan last week how to do it. Oh, you're gonna put that in the group chat, my nigga? Okay, I see.
There that word again.
Oh no! All right. The group chat, like, ooh, like I can tell, like, in some instances, I've never seen the person, but they got the little foreign names. So I'm like, we people of color, and so we'll go to the side chat, like, oh, you forgot. I'll give them grace. Let me go to the little 1-on-1. Oh, you forgot this. Can you give this to me? And then they do that to me, like, okay, but the other people, everybody, you do this. Like, okay. But did you see where I was communicating in our group chat and I did 12 things other than what I was assigned by you? Oh, okay. You didn't notice that? All right.
Man, it's shifty out here.
And sometimes, I'm telling you, they want your job. Like a lot of people, some people at some of these studios would rather work by themselves than work with you.
That's a whole word right there. He just shut shit down with that one. Jesus Christ.
Because it's like you're doing this on purpose. Especially when you're like on Slack, like when you say there on Slack.
I said unconscious bias, conscious, because sometimes it'd be so repeatedly unconscious. Like, are you doing this on purpose? Like, this can't be unconscious at this point.
So this actually happened to me today. We had our Perforce server is down. I don't know if any of you use Unreal Engine.
I know about Unreal,
but Perforce is like a server that's required to be able to take, do the bridge between Unreal and Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Our server went down, and I literally put in the group chat. I said, "Hey, the Perforce server's down. A bunch of people are sending tickets in. I'm willing to help, but I don't know. I don't know everything about the Perforce server, so just heads up, right?" So I get to the office. I try to log into the Perforce server. I can't log in, and I send it directly to my coworker that's on it. And I said, "Hey, I can't log into the Perforce server. I don't know what's going on. If you need help, if you got any suggestions, let me know. Like we can get to the bottom of this. No answer at all. None. Then the owner of the company puts in the group chat, "Hey, what's going on with the Perforce licenses?" Now, this is what I was trying to avoid by having this conversation. I said, "Yo, Perforce server is down. Let's get getting." You know what I mean? Owner, and then my coworker responds to the owner. Then he responds to me and says, "Okay, well, I had to submit a ticket with Perforce, and I believe that there's a corruption in the license file. So don't do any. You do other tickets, but don't do any Perforce tickets. I'll take care of the Perforce tickets." Most of the tickets we had all day were Perforce tickets, right? And then our boss, who's in Australia, gets online and he slacks me. He says, "Hey, I'm just trying to confirm. Are you working on tickets today?" My attitude went from here to like here at that point. And this is why I see a lot like in IT and production. I'm like, y'all ignore people. You ignore people. And then you want to swing around. You ignore people. You tell people different shit to do. You don't communicate because you're not a communicator for some reason. Then you swing it all around. And it's like the person that's not communicated with, the boss comes in and it's like, "Hey, why aren't you doing shit?"
You know what? I have dealt with, there's those people that can get into the chat and people respond quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just be honest with people. So I'll go like say I need to holler at whoever about something. I'll go straight to my like suit and like say, "Hey, can you talk to such and such, woo wop, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, you can go ahead and Slack him or email him." I said, "Listen, if you get at them, they're going to get back to you right away because there's a pecking order. Like there's a pecking order." I said, "Stop it. We're not going to pretend like stop it. That's why I'm in here. I'm in here because I noticed there's a pecking order. You know what I'm saying?" Just, you'll see, because I got at him already. There was silence. Now watching you get at him, he do the Slack or whatever, boop, right away. I said, "See, that's just what it is." I said, "I'm just trying to get my work done. If this person wants to be an idiot, that's fine. I ain't tripping. Because I got you here, and you can go ahead and drop the hammer, and I'm good. I can go back and do my job. You feel me?" And then there's a second option I do where I actually go sit in the person's cubicle with them. I've done that. I sit down like this. "What's up, player?" And they're like, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh yeah, I slacked you a little while back. You feel me about the whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, I was working on this, that, and the third, whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, but my coworker slacked you, and you got back in like 2-3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna sit here. And I'm going to interrupt every conversation you have with anybody else coming by. They'll just see me here and it'll look weird until I get my shit." So I do that too. So I kind of just take it head on. Just like make motherfuckers feel like I'm like, because if you're gonna keep me from doing my job,
right,
that's cool. We can do this. We can fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'll bring some dominoes or something. Be in your fucking cubicle, just boom, slapping dominoes. You know what I'm saying? Shit, give me that nickel. Because I can't stand that shit. So I'll try to just disrupt a whole lot of shit. It's like, if I gotta feel this way, you gonna feel this way with me.
But that's the stuff that be happening on this side. That's the stuff that happens. It's you literally, it's you have people that you work with that literally don't want you to work there.
Yeah, that's sad.
Like, man. They don't like the way you're interacting with me is you want me to. And I say this to Deborah. I'm like, "Oh, this dude's slacking me like he knows how to fight." like I hope he knows, like don't let these glasses and this fucking hoodie fool you. I hope he knows how to fight, because he's talking to me like
a little extra.
Yeah, he's being a little extra when I'm having a normal conversation with him.
He put some sauce on it.
Like the other day, I was setting up an imaging server, and he went into the EXSI server and he changed the name of the server that I was working on. And
yeah, that's bad. That's crazy.
And I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm looking for this server I was working on. Did something happen?" And then he comes back at me. And again, this is when it goes to white people don't apologize for shit. It went back to oh, you named it wrong, so I renamed it. So going forward, name it this way, right? And it got to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna say it. So I don't give a fuck how it comes across. And I basically said, yo, I don't mind you like changing shit, but let me know. Actually, like Slack me personally and say, yo, I changed this, so I'm not wasting time. Right? Like keep me, and then
that sounds professional. That sounds professional.
But then he started trying to give me excuses. So then what I started doing, I started slagging him, and certain words were capitalized. And I was like, yeah, so that's cool and everything, but when you make changes on my projects, you need to keep me in the loop so that I'm abreast with all the changes that are happening. 100%. And then he tried to give me all these excuses and blah, blah, blah. And then it got to a point where he said, sure, but don't cry about it. He said, sure, but don't cry about it. So that's when I said, oh, no one's crying. Just stay in your lane.
That's what? And I be hating when a person, when they try to, like you said, somebody said you was getting sassy in the chats. When somebody brings it to your doorstep and you accommodate, and then they want to act like they just totally innocent that shit gets on my nerves, man. It gets on my damn nerves. Real talk.
It was just, and it's just one of those things, and this is what be happening. They be trying to hit you with like the slick stuff, and I'm like they want you. My theory is they literally want you to lose your job. Like they want you to flip out.
I guess so, man.
What's crazy is like sometimes there's a communication breakdown. And you're actually the most communicative person out of everybody, but then you're somehow being blamed for not communicating. But I'm I've been over communicating and nobody's communicating with me. How is it my fault?
Yeah, it's like either you're asking too many questions, or you're not taking the initiative, or you're not doing this, or that. Like in their mind, they're coming up with all these excuses. When at the beginning, like in my case, when I first came in, I said, if we implemented this will fix all of our problems. So now what I have to do is I have to take time on the weekends to implement the system, because I don't have time to do it during work hours because they keep asking me to do shit. And or renaming my projects that I have to literally go back and start over. So now I don't have time to actually finish the project because I have to start over now. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, and it turns around.
This is why I definitely do not want to be in a lead position. I've led sequences and stuff on films where I was the lead for a particular sequence, so I'm overseeing any of the assets being built for that sequence of the film, right? So I'm not the lead for the entire film. You know what I'm saying? And that's enough for me. That's enough. And I've had like good experiences with that, but I see like what y'all are talking about. This it's just a tug of war, just between different people, and I've seen it happen. Like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that shit, man, because I don't think I got the temperament for it, because I'm the kind of person where if somebody's the captain of the ship, right? They're the captain, leave them alone, let them do their thing. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, now if I'm in the chair now, give me the same respect I gave you. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's gonna be some weird shit. I know it's gonna be some off, like y'all was there, sassy in the chat, just weird shit. And it's like, we gotta really deal with this, right? Can we just get the job done? Yeah. So I try to just stay with, and I'm fortunate that I love what I do, so I can just actually be at my desk, just clicking, doing my thing, making stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, I don't need to. Now. Not saying
lens and put it onto you. Like for me, like in instances where I've been like, oh y'all put me in 12 meetings in a day and then ask me what did I accomplish that day? Nothing.
That's what I'm saying. And that's crazy for me to ask that.
I'm like, if y'all put me in less meetings, then I can do my work. Oh, so you're overwhelmed? No, I have enough hours in the day to do my work, but y'all taking my hours away from me. Oh, okay, but so you're overwhelmed? Like, no, like if you like, I can do my work. I'm not overwhelmed. I just don't have time to do my work. And so,
unfortunately, that's like an industry standard too.
that negative adjective where they have to put something on you of like, oh, she must can't handle her workload. I could if you let me do my work.
Yep. I mean, the industry standard is definitely changing your mind at the last minute. Like there'll be times where I'll say I'm going to work on this, and then I'm in the middle of working on it, and I'll say instead of working on that, work on this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day they'll be like, that project we talked about yesterday, how far did you get? I didn't get far at all because I started working on it. Because I can't. The thing about me, I cannot be. My mind is very much in the zone. And once I get ripped out of that zone, I can't go back. Sorry. That's just the way it is.
It's hard to spin all those plates at once.
If I'm in the middle of coding something and you come and say, oh, I need you to do this, that coding ain't going to get done that day. Sorry.
And then they'll be like, depending on the situation, they'll interrupt your zone like, oh, it's just a 15-minute meeting. It's not just a 15-minute meeting, though. You're working.
It's never.
Like, I'm in there. And now I got to get back in. It's not just a 15-minute meeting.
And since I haven't really necessarily been in a leadership role, I can always kind of finagle out of meetings and shit. I'm like, do I have some information that somebody else needs in this meeting? Do I need to give them the information? Oh no, this meeting's about this and this, Dre. I'm gonna dip out. Let me go back and just do my work, man, and get my shit done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So does anybody have any final thoughts on unconscious bias to wrap up the video?
I just found out there's a whole lot of shit going on at work that I didn't know how it was moving. That's what I got from this. I'm gonna rewind this shit a few times and have to watch it just to take these notes. Like I didn't know what. Like, God damn. Yeah, because I'm like an elephant, like an elephant on the Serengeti just walking. Boom, 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 and like you get in front of it, it just stomps you, boom, and just keeps going. I don't pay attention to nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I guess I need to start like, wait a minute, what? Man, I gotta start beeping some shit.
You're certainly fortunate, Dre.
I think it's because of where I came from. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in the pen, everything was about, respect, right? And you knew when a person meant disrespect towards you, they would show you and you handle it. And then that's it. Everything else was nothing, right? Everything else was just like whatever. People was just bumping their gums. So that's how I am. Like if you come to me with something, we gonna handle it. Other than that, I'm not even, I got my circle. I'm good. I got my work. I'm gonna finish my work. My supervisor says, as long as me and my supervisor got understanding, supervisor's cool with me, I'm cool with them. We cool. Everything else is like, I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? But I might have to start kind of, y'all got me scared. This is like a horror movie for me. Like, shit.
Dre, you gonna be like, so they did this. What you think about that?
Yeah, real talk. I'm gonna have to be like, hey, listen. I was like this.
They trying to trip you up, right? Because you said that, then that meant this, and then
right.
So be careful.
And I will say this: I think another advantage I had was I started in facilities, and I worked my way up. So I started seeing a lot of things. I was like, how like say the people approach the beach in Normandy. Imagine instead of approaching the beach on the boat, you up in the sky and you seeing everything from like a bird's eye view. I was fortunate enough that people were just giving me game as I was going to my next position or whatever. Just like when I became an actual modeler, I got my contract and everything. The first thing that happened was the production designer of Madagascar. She immediately was like, Dre, come in my office real quick. Took me in the office. She was like, listen, let me tell you right now, enjoy what you're doing, but remember, these are not your films. Don't get attached. Make the best models you can, have fun, and go home. Don't get attached to none of this stuff. Like she gave me that game. So going in, I kind of had every time I had somebody gave me a little nugget, a little gem, you know what I'm saying? That kind of kept me, and then when I just saw
either not gonna be in the film or it's gonna be real small.
Yeah, and then she was like, just have fun with it. Just have fun doing your modeling. Don't worry about what the film is doing because that's not yours. You know what I'm saying? That's Jeffrey Katzenberg. You know what I'm saying? And so I had people just give me like little gems, but then I took the rest of the shit from the streets as well, where it's like, find your people and just be like, nah, I'm good with everybody else. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. So I think I have been fortunate, but I see that there was some, like I said, somebody tried to salt me to my supervisor to take my job. But luckily my supervisor had my back. But I'm sure other stuff was happening around that I was missing. Yeah, y'all gonna have me at work like, hey, like Dre different.
I had some side meetings with some people. Like, so have y'all been noticing anything?
Yeah.
Kenan, what about your wrap up?
I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the common denominator. But
well, if you stick up for yourself, you put a target on your back. Let's be clear.
Yeah, that's what I learned. I've learned, like, if they're not used to people sticking up for themselves, particularly in our industries. They're used to people being run over, and so when you speak up for yourself, you gonna have to. If you decide to take them bullets.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah,
they coming.
Sometimes you gotta get sassy in the chats. You know what I'm saying? I do think self-sufficiency is important. I do think having confidence in your abilities and in your skills is definitely gonna pave the way for you. It gets to a point where the work has to speak for itself, because at the end of the day, we really can't control what people think about us, and I think as Black people, that's something we kind of need to let go of. In the relationship of what white people think of us, because again, going back to Will Smith and all that stuff, Will Smith was perfect for 30 years and he did one thing and they want to cancel him. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it gets to a point where you say, I have to be satisfied with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have to make myself proud. I got to make my people proud. I need to do something that I can hang my hat on. So I think self-reliance, self-importance, doing the best that we can for us, I think is the best way to go about it. Because once you have confidence within yourself, no one can take that away from you. So that's why I would say going into this.
I understand that this whole video has been about unconscious bias and people treating you differently for any ism that you are, but get in the habit of advocating for yourself, because something I realized at a previous position, so the way I operate sometimes is like, sometimes I wouldn't advocate for myself because I don't want to hear the dumb excuse you're gonna give me. So I'll just stop addressing the issue, because what the dumb stuff you about to say is gonna piss me off. And so let me just not address the issue at all. And so there was a period of time at one position where I was advocating for myself, and then I kind of stopped. And then I don't know why, but for some reason I started advocating for myself again. And some stuff that I would present to my supervisor, he'd just be like, okay. And I'm like, fuck, how much stuff have I gone through for the past 2 years that I thought was racism or sexism, and it was just that I didn't say nothing. And so yes, we do go through,
which it could have been both.
Right. But sometimes we're going through this stuff and we get so tired that we stop advocating for ourselves. But sometimes we're not actually going through what we think we're going through, because sometimes you could bring it up and they'll be like, oh, okay, cool, I didn't think of that. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I don't have to do that. and so it was just like a light bulb moment where that's kind of why I advocate for myself all the time, is because sometimes you don't actually have to go through what they're putting you through.
Real talk. Because
some of it is unconscious. And so sometimes what you're saying will make sense. Now, if it's conscious, then they purposely trying to put you through some stuff. And so what you advocate for ain't never going to get fixed. But sometimes when it's unconscious, you can advocate for yourself and be like the situation. I remember the first thing I re-advocated for myself was okay, y'all got the dude that had this skill set was here for all these years, and I tried to learn from him, but y'all never gave me access to the program. And then y'all pissed him off and he quit, and now y'all saying, okay, you do this skill set, but y'all ain't never teach me it, so I can't do it. And he's like, oh, okay, that is true. Like, you are my supervisor, you ain't think of that y'all didn't never taught me the program, and now I can't do it. Okay, but now I'm glad you realize when I'm telling you that I can't do it, then you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Thank you. But yeah, that was like the instance where it's like, I tried to, y'all only gave the white dude access to the program. I tried to learn from him because he's a superstar. He was actually a superstar. And y'all made all the excuses to get me access to the program. Oh yeah, we'll get another license. And then y'all pissed him off and he quit. And now nobody can do the task and nobody can work the program. Okay. That was good foreshadowing. That was good forethought. Congratulations to y'all.
That sounds like the average supervisor.
Yeah. So
like, oh, I didn't. Yeah. Sounds about average.
So I mean, I know there's a lot of different personalities in our industries, but you gotta beef up, like advocate for yourself.
And I'll say for the allies out there, man, listen, talk is cheap. I ain't got time. I want to see something. I want to see some blood on your hands.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I want to see your skin on the same. I want to see your skin on the same batons that my skin is on. Everything else is whatever.
And I feel like I'm having a sudden realization because, like, you always hear talk is cheap, and you know, as a native speaker of English, you'd be like, I know what that means, but then I just related it to like talk is like you just paid a penny for that, but if you do, it's like $1 or $5. So it's literally cheap. Like, I'm like, oh man, this phrase my whole life, and now I'm like a new perspective. Like, it's literally talk is like a penny. I need you to do.
Okay. So, oh, and then to the ones out there, that are on this side, right? Mm-hmm. Be careful who you answer to. Real talk. Not everybody needs an explanation, man, and we got to stop answering to certain people. They gotta earn the right to hear our explanations about shit. Mm-hmm. We be giving shit away for free. I always say we're cheap dates. Mm-hmm. We need to stop being cheap dates, man. I want it all. You're going to pull up to my house in the limo. You're going to give me the goddamn flowers. You're going to open my door. You're going to take me to the restaurant that got the $300 plate dinner. And then when we get to the house and I jingle my keys, you get in the car and leaving. You ain't getting shit. God damn it. You going to wait.
Dead ass.
Okay. Stop being cheap dates out here. They gotta earn our motherfucking explanations. They gotta earn what's in here.
Yep, that's what I've been thinking when people be inviting people to the cookout. Like, I ain't going
to
the cookout.
Yeah, you gotta earn that.
Stop that shit, first of all.
Please stop.
Wait, no, like, let's not start into something else.
Right. Next episode.
So, thank you, Dre. Thank you, Kenan, for coming on my platform.
No doubt. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is going up. This is gonna be a part. Y'all gonna have to listen to this in podcast form because I'm not splitting it up. It's gonna be all these hours.
It's good entertainment, though. Goddamn.
You'll have to listen to it in part. Right? So, thank y'all for watching. I want you to like, so I know it's real. Comment and tell me how you feel. Subscribe to Citadel and sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. And I'll see you in the next video.
Peace, y'all.